Drift into calm sleep while exploring the future of the human body. From organ repair and genetic therapies to prosthetics, brain interfaces, and regenerative medicine, this soothing narration blends science and hope. Perfect for bedtime listening, relaxation, and insomnia relief. Learn how technology and biology may extend health, resilience, and human potential. Good evening, and welcome to The Body Explained. Tonight we begin with something simple yet profound, a soft invitation to consider the body not as a machine to be pushed or judged, but as a home to be respected. Your body is not only the vessel that carries you through the world, but also the storybook of your life, holding every memory, every scar, every triumph, and every quiet moment of rest. When we think of the body as a home, we remind ourselves that it deserves kindness, patience, and gratitude. It is the one place you live your entire life, the roof and walls of your being. So many people move through their days disconnected from their bodies, seeing them only as shapes in mirrors, numbers on scales, or lists of aches and flaws. But if you pause and listen without judgment, you realize that the body is constantly working on your behalf. Right now, as you hear these words, your lungs are drawing in oxygen without you needing to remember. Your heart is beating with steady determination. Your cells are repairing and rebuilding, and countless processes are unfolding with quiet precision. It is easy to forget that survival itself is a masterpiece of resilience. Respecting the body begins with consent, not just in relationships with others, but in the relationship you have with yourself. You can ask, what do I need? Am I tired? Am I hungry? Do I need stillness or movement or comfort? These questions sound small, but they are forms of listening. Too often we push through signals of fatigue or stress as though the body is an obstacle to be conquered. Yet those signals are not betrayals. They are guidance. Respecting the body means taking those whispers seriously, knowing that they are messages written in the ancient language of biology. Gratitude for the body does not mean ignoring its limitations or pretending it never struggles. Gratitude means honoring it, even when it falters. Think of the immune system responding to illness. A fever is unpleasant, but it is also proof that the body is fighting to protect you. Think of soreness after exertion, a reminder that muscles are growing stronger through effort. Even scars tell stories of healing, proof that the body has the power to mend itself after injury. Gratitude transforms frustration into respect, helping us see resilience instead of weakness. It is easy to measure our worth against cultural images of idealized bodies, but the truth is that every body is unique, shaped by genetics, environment, and experience. There is no single standard of perfection. The skin that protects you may carry freckles, wrinkles, or stretch marks. The legs that walk you through life may be strong or fragile, steady or unsteady, but they are yours. The heart that pumps blood may beat faster with anxiety or slower with calm, but it continues tirelessly. Each body is a one-of-a-kind story, not a replica of someone else's blueprint. Listening without judgment is one of the most powerful acts of self-care. When you feel a pain, notice it instead of immediately labeling it as weakness. When you feel fatigue, acknowledge it rather than punishing yourself for not doing more. Judgment closes the door on connection. Listening opens it. In fact, many wellness practices, from mindfulness to yoga to meditation, are simply methods of tuning in, of paying attention to sensations without attaching blame or fear. This practice builds a stronger mind-body connection, reminding you that awareness is the first step toward healing. Consider how often your body protects you without thanks. The reflexes that pull your hand from a hot surface, the clotting that stops bleeding, the balance that steadies you when you stumble. These are small acts of survival written into your biology. Gratitude does not require grand gestures. It can be as simple as pausing to say, "Thank you, body, for carrying me through today." This habit shifts the way you think. moving from criticism to appreciation. Over time, gratitude itself becomes healing. Respect also means recognizing the body's limits. Every body wears down with time, and every stage of life brings changes. Children grow rapidly, teenagers surge with hormones, adults adapt to the weight of responsibility, and elders experience the slowing of systems. None of these stages are failures. They are natural evolutions. By honoring each phase instead of resisting it, we learn to see aging not as decline, but as transformation. The lines on the face become records of laughter and worry, the silver hair a testament to endurance. The body is resilient, not because it never changes, but because it adapts. The body is also deeply social. It responds to touch, to kindness, to presence. When you sit with someone who listens, your heart rate can slow. When you laugh, your muscles release tension. When you are held, oxytocin, the bonding hormone, is released. These are not abstract concepts. They are measurable shifts that show how connection itself is medicine. Respecting your body includes giving it opportunities for safe affection and human closeness, as well as respecting the need for solitude and rest. There is another layer to gratitude, remembering what the body endures even when neglected. Think of how often people skip meals, stay up late, ignore exercise, or live under stress. And yet the body still tries to adapt, to keep functioning, to recover when given the chance. This resilience is humbling. A body may carry chronic illness or pain, and still it finds ways to persist. To view the body with gratitude is to honor the quiet heroism of endurance. Listening to the body also means respecting its diversity. Bodies come in many shapes, sizes, and abilities. Some run marathons, others move slowly with careful steps. Some see clearly, others use glasses or canes or wheelchairs. Respect means recognizing that no body is less worthy of dignity than another. The language of wellness must expand to include everyone, not just the bodies that fit narrow definitions. Inclusivity is not only moral, it is realistic, because variation is the natural state of life. One way to cultivate respect for your body is to shift the way you speak about it. Harsh self-criticism creates stress, which ripples through your nervous system, your hormones, even your digestion. Gentle language, by contrast, creates calm. If you describe your body as strong, adaptive, or wise, you are reinforcing trust instead of anxiety. Words matter because the mind and body are not separate. They communicate constantly. What you think affects how you feel, and what you feel affects how you heal. When you see the body as a home, you begin to notice the small rituals of care that make it livable. Sleep is the restoration of rooms. Nutrition is the supply of tools and materials. Movement is the opening of windows, letting air and energy flow through. Even something as simple as drinking water is an act of maintenance, like watering the plants in a garden. Respecting the body means tending to it regularly, not only when it breaks down. Gratitude for resilience grows when we notice how the body recovers. Think of how a cut heals, first clotting, then scabbing, then closing with new tissue. Think of how bones knit themselves back together after a break. Think of how lungs clear after an illness. These are not miracles from the outside, but processes written into our very design. The body wants to survive, to mend, to adapt. This knowledge can be a source of comfort, especially in moments of illness or fatigue. At the heart of this opening chapter lies a simple truth. Respect is the foundation of understanding. If you approach the body only as a puzzle to solve or a problem to fix, you miss its quiet strength. But if you approach it as a companion, a lifelong partner deserving of care, the relationship changes. You stop waging war against your own form and instead begin walking alongside it with compassion. And so, as you settle deeper into rest, hold this thought gently. Your body is not your enemy, nor your project to perfect. It is your constant ally, your living home, and your most faithful companion. By listening without judgment and offering gratitude for its resilience, you are not only caring for your health, you are building peace within yourself. This is the beginning of The Body Explained, and it starts not with anatomy charts or scientific diagrams, but with reverence. Reverence for the simple fact that you are here, alive, breathing, carried through time by the home you have always known, your body. When we try to understand what makes us alive, we often think first of our beating heart or our breathing lungs, the senses that keep us connected to the world. But the story of life goes deeper, far beneath what the eye can see. The true foundation of every heartbeat, every breath, every thought and gesture is the cell. Cells are the smallest living units that make up our bodies. They are the bricks, beams, and scaffolding of life, but also the factories, libraries, and communication networks. Without them, there is no us. To study cells is to read the language in which our lives are written. Right now, your body is composed of trillions of cells. Some estimate the number to be around 37 trillion, though it is impossible to count them one by one. Each cell is alive, even though it is microscopic. Each performs countless jobs, generating energy, repairing damage, defending against invaders, sending messages, and building tissues. Together they form the symphony we call life. It is astonishing to remember that every part of you, your brain, your heart, your skin, even the enamel of your teeth, emerged from a single fertilized cell that divided and divided again, following instructions stored in DNA. Cells themselves are not uniform. The human body contains hundreds of different types, each specialized for a unique role. Muscle cells contract to create movement. Nerve cells carry signals at lightning speed. Blood cells deliver oxygen, while immune cells patrol for intruders. The diversity of cell types shows how nature builds complexity from simplicity. Yet, despite differences, almost all cells share the same basic architecture. Each has a protective outer membrane, a jelly-like interior called cytoplasm, and a control center known as the nucleus. Inside the nucleus lies DNA, the molecule that encodes the instructions for life. The cell membrane is more than just a boundary. It is a selective gatekeeper, allowing certain substances to pass in or out while keeping others away. Through this thin film, nutrients enter, waste leaves, and signals flow. The membrane is alive with activity, studded with proteins that act like doorways or antennas, guiding traffic and transmitting messages. Imagine a bustling city with guarded gates, roads, and communication towers. That is the life of the membrane, constant negotiation between inside and outside. Within the cytoplasm, tiny organelles function like miniature organs. Mitochondria, often called the powerhouses, generate energy by processing nutrients into molecules of ATP, the currency of biological work. Ribosomes act as factories, stitching together proteins according to instructions from DNA. The endoplasmic reticulum, smooth and rough, builds lipids and modifies proteins, while the Golgi apparatus packages and ships molecules like a post office. Lysosomes and peroxisomes act like recycling centers, breaking down old parts and toxins. Every organelle contributes to the whole, ensuring that the cell not only survives, but thrives. At the very heart of the cell is DNA, short for deoxyribonucleic acid. DNA is the body's instruction manual, the language of life written in 4 simple letters, A, T, C, and G. These stand for the chemical bases adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine. Strung together in long sequences, they form the words and sentences that direct how proteins are built, how cells behave, and how organisms grow. DNA is extraordinary, not because its letters are complex, they are simple chemicals, but because the sequences they form are so vast, so varied, and so precisely organized. Each human cell except red blood cells, contains about 2 meters of DNA coiled tightly into structures called chromosomes. If all the DNA in your body were uncoiled and laid end to end, it would stretch to the sun and back many times. And yet, inside each nucleus, this immense library is folded so elegantly that it fits into microscopic space. The precision of this packaging is one of biology's quiet marvels. But DNA itself is not the final product. It is a set of instructions that must be read and acted upon. The process begins with transcription, where a stretch of DNA is copied into RNA, a kind of working copy of the genetic text. RNA carries this message out of the nucleus to ribosomes, where translation takes place. Here, the sequence of RNA is read 3 letters at a time, each triplet coding for an amino acid. Linked together, amino acids form proteins, the building blocks and workhorses of life. Proteins fold into precise shapes that allow them to function as enzymes, hormones, structural fibers, or molecular machines. This flow of information, from DNA to RNA to protein, is sometimes called the central dogma of molecular biology. It is the language of life, the way information is converted into action. Without it, the cell would be silent. With it, the cell becomes a vibrant community, producing everything it needs to survive and connect with its neighbors. DNA is not just a static code. It is dynamic, responsive to signals from the environment and from within the body. Genes can be turned on or off, amplified or silenced, depending on need. For example, in a muscle cell, genes involved in contraction are highly active, while in a neuron, genes related to signaling take priority. This selective expression is what allows one DNA sequence to give rise to so many different cell types. The resilience of life is tied to this system of adaptability. Cells respond to stress by producing repair proteins. DNA itself is constantly monitored and mended by enzymes that correct errors. Even when mutations occur, many are harmless or even beneficial, fueling evolution over generations. Though the double helix of DNA looks fragile, it is also robust, enduring through countless cycles of replication and repair. The origin of DNA is one of science's great mysteries. We know that in every organism on Earth, DNA carries the blueprint of life. The double helix, first described by Watson and Crick in 1953, is now one of the most iconic images in science. But how the first molecules of DNA arose from the primordial soup billions of years ago is still a subject of study. Some scientists suggest RNA came first, serving both as information storage and chemical catalyst, until DNA evolved for greater stability. Whatever the pathway, the result was the same: a molecule capable of storing, copying, and transmitting information with exquisite fidelity. Life's continuity is ensured by DNA's ability to replicate. Before a cell divides, its DNA is carefully copied, with each strand serving as a template for a new partner. This process guarantees that each new cell carries the same instructions as the parent. From the fertilized egg that became you, through countless divisions, the code has been faithfully passed on, maintaining identity while allowing for growth. The fact that one tiny cell could divide and specialize until it became a thinking, feeling human is one of the great wonders of biology. Cells also communicate. Chemical signals pass from one to another, guiding development, coordinating responses, and maintaining balance. Hormones travel through the bloodstream to deliver messages across distances. Neurotransmitters leap across synapses in the nervous system. Immune cells release signals that summon reinforcements. This communication is what makes multicellular life possible. Without it, cells would remain isolated, each following its own path. Together, they form tissues, organs, and entire systems, bound by constant dialogue. To appreciate cells is to appreciate the body's resilience. Even now, millions of your cells are dying and being replaced. The lining of your gut renews itself every few days. Skin cells flake off and are replaced by new ones beneath. Blood cells have lifespans measured in weeks or months before being recycled and replaced. This turnover ensures that your body remains young in parts, even as you age as a whole. It is a continuous rebuilding project, one that happens silently as you go about your life. DNA, too, tells a deeper story, the story of ancestry and evolution. Within your genome are echoes of ancient humans and even older species. Some genes are so essential that they are shared across all life, from bacteria to humans. Others carry variations that reveal where your ancestors traveled, what climates they adapted to, and how populations mingled. To study DNA is to read history written not in books, but in molecules, a record of survival stretching back billions of years. Our understanding of DNA has also led to remarkable technologies. Genetic testing can trace ancestry, predict risk for disease, or guide treatment. Gene therapy aims to repair faulty genes. CRISPR, a tool discovered in bacteria, allows scientists to edit DNA with unprecedented precision. These developments are not science fiction, but real tools reshaping medicine, agriculture, and beyond. They remind us that by learning the language of DNA, humanity is beginning to write new chapters in its own story. Yet for all the complexity, the beauty lies in the simplicity. 4 letters, A, T, C, and G, combine to create the instructions for building every living being. This simplicity echoes in the structure of the double helix. 2 strands winding around each other, joined by base pairs like steps on a spiral staircase. That elegant form is not only a symbol of biology, but a symbol of balance, of how order and information can emerge from chemistry. Cells and DNA also highlight the fragility of life. Errors in DNA replication can lead to disease. Cells that lose control of their growth can cause cancer. Viruses hijack cellular machinery to replicate themselves. Yet even here, the resilience of life is evident. The immune system fights tirelessly to restore balance. DNA repair enzymes work endlessly to fix mistakes. Medical science develops treatments that build upon these natural defenses. Life bends, but it does not easily break. If you pause to imagine a single cell right now, tucked away in your skin or in the lining of your stomach, you are picturing an entire world. Within that microscopic space, molecules flow, signals fire, and instructions are carried out with precision. The fact that trillions of such worlds coexist in your body, coordinated into the singular experience of you, is humbling. We often take this miracle for granted because it is invisible, but invisibility does not make it less real. So what makes us alive? It is not just the organs we can touch or the breath we can feel, but the choreography of countless cells, each powered by DNA's instruction manual working in harmony. Life is the conversation between chemistry and information, between matter and memory. Cells live and die, but DNA ensures continuity. And through this continuity, generation after generation has carried the torch of life forward. As you listen to this explanation, consider your own body not as a single entity, but as a community of living cells. Each one is doing its job, guided by the same language of DNA. They are your quiet allies, working while you sleep, while you dream, while you rest. Gratitude for them is gratitude for life itself. When you respect your body, you are respecting this hidden community and the instructions written into its very core. And so this chapter closes with a reflection. The body's instruction manual is not locked away in laboratories or textbooks. It is within you. Every heartbeat, every step, every breath is proof that the language of DNA is being read and carried out faithfully. To understand this is to find wonder not in distant galaxies or myths, but in the very cells that form your skin, your brain, your heart, yourself. The Body Explained begins here, with the smallest units of life and the code they follow. It is a reminder that you are not only alive, but part of a story billions of years in the making, written in the alphabet of life, and carried forward in every one of your cells. The body tells its story on the surface. Before a word is spoken, before a thought is shared, the skin speaks. It blushes with embarrassment, pales with fear, glows with health, or wrinkles with time. The skin is far more than a surface to be polished or judged. It is a living shield, a vast organ that protects, senses, and connects us to the world. It is the first barrier against harm and the first canvas of identity. Hair and nails are part of this same system, often treated as decoration, but in truth, they are extensions of biology with practical purposes and hidden meaning. To understand skin, hair, and nails is to appreciate not vanity, but survival, protection, and expression woven into the fabric of life. Your skin is your largest organ. Stretch it out and it would cover about 20 square feet in an adult, weighing more than any other organ. It may look thin and fragile, but it is layered with precision. The outermost layer, the epidermis, is a protective wall of cells that continually renew themselves. Beneath lies the dermis, rich with blood vessels, nerves, and connective tissue. Deeper still, the hypodermis cushions the body with fat and insulates it from cold. Together, these layers form a living coat, tailored perfectly to your size, flexible enough to bend, strong enough to resist, and sensitive enough to feel a breeze on a quiet evening. One of the most remarkable facts about skin is that it renews itself constantly. Dead cells are shed, replaced by new ones from beneath. In about a month, you carry a fresh surface, a cycle repeated throughout life. This turnover allows wounds to heal and keeps the barrier strong. Yet the very cells you shed become part of your environment. Household dust contains skin flakes, tiny reminders that you are always in a quiet exchange with the world around you. The skin is not only a barrier, but also a gatekeeper. It protects against bacteria, viruses, and toxins, yet it also allows certain substances to pass through. Sweat glands release salt and water to cool the body. Oil glands secrete sebum to keep skin supple and resistant. Pores breathe in their own way, balancing moisture and releasing heat. Every bead of sweat on your forehead is part of a larger story of regulation, a constant effort to keep temperature within a narrow range so that the chemistry of life can proceed smoothly. Temperature control is one of the most vital jobs of skin. When the body overheats, blood vessels in the dermis widen, carrying warm blood closer to the surface where heat can dissipate. Sweating adds to this cooling, as evaporation whisks heat away. In cold conditions, the opposite occurs. Vessels constrict, reducing heat loss, while goosebumps lift tiny hairs to trap air and add insulation. These reflexes are not conscious choices, but ancient adaptations that kept our ancestors alive in shifting climates. The skin's ability to balance heat and cold is the reason we survive in environments from Arctic tundra to blazing deserts. Touch is perhaps the most intimate gift of skin. Scattered across the surface are receptors tuned to pressure, vibration, texture, heat, and pain. The fingertips are especially dense with these sensors, capable of distinguishing details finer than a strand of hair. Touch allows infants to bond with parents, lovers to connect with each other, and friends to reassure through a simple hand on the shoulder. It is both practical and emotional, guiding us to avoid harm, to explore our surroundings, and to feel comfort. The gentle brush of fabric, the warmth of sunlight, the coolness of water, all are translations of the world into the language of nerves. Hair, though often thought of as purely cosmetic, has its own biological importance. Each strand grows from a follicle embedded in the skin, nourished by tiny blood vessels at its root. Hair provides insulation, trapping heat in cold weather and shielding the scalp from the sun. Eyelashes guard the eyes from dust. Eyebrows channel sweat away. Fine hairs on the body amplify touch sensitivity, bending with the slightest air currents to warn of changes in the environment. The thickness, curl, and color of hair vary widely, reflecting genetics and ancestry. While fashion may treat hair as decoration, biology reminds us it is part of the body's toolkit for protection and communication. Nails, too, are more than ornaments. They are hardened plates of keratin, the same protein found in hair, and the outer layer of skin. Nails protect the tips of fingers and toes, areas packed with delicate nerves. They provide leverage for grasping small objects, scratching an itch, or peeling fruit. The pale crescent at the base, called the lunula, is a sign of growth, and the condition of nails often reveals underlying health. Weak, brittle, or discolored nails can hint at nutritional deficiencies or systemic illness. Just as rings and polish make them visible symbols of identity, their biology makes them sentinels of wellness. Skin is deeply tied to the immune system. Specialized cells in the epidermis stand guard, detecting pathogens and alerting the body to respond. When the skin is broken, clotting and inflammation rush to seal the gap and fight infection. Even the microbiome of the skin, billions of bacteria living harmlessly on the surface, forms part of this defense, outcompeting harmful invaders and maintaining balance. Far from being sterile, healthy skin is alive with microscopic life that partners with us for protection. Self-expression is one of skin's most profound roles. The skin carries pigment, freckles, and tones shaped by melanin, a molecule that shields from ultraviolet rays. Patterns of pigmentation are evolutionary adaptations to sun exposure, yet they also shape culture, beauty, and identity. Scars mark experiences. Tattoos and piercings become choices etched into flesh, turning skin into canvas. Wrinkles trace years of laughter or sorrow. The skin is personal history written in texture and color. To respect skin is to recognize that it is not only a shield, but also a storyteller. The importance of skin goes beyond appearance. It carries emotional signals that are almost involuntary. Stress can cause flushing, anger can deepen color, fear can drain it. A blush may reveal attraction, a pallor may reveal shock. These changes occur because blood vessels in the skin respond directly to the nervous system. The body betrays feelings in the language of color and warmth, reminding us that skin is not separate from the mind, but intimately linked to emotion. Hair, too, signals identity beyond biology. Hairstyles can carry cultural meaning, religious significance, or personal statement. From braids to curls, shaven scalps to long locks, hair is one of the most visible markers of self-expression. It can symbolize rebellion, tradition, fashion, or belonging. Though its biological function may be protection, its social function is communication. Nails share this dual role. Painted, decorated, or styled, they extend identity outward while silently performing their tasks of protection and precision. The resilience of skin is both humbling and fragile. A small scrape heals within days, layers of cells knitting back together. Sunburn fades, peeling away damage to reveal renewal. Yet skin can also be overwhelmed by chronic conditions like eczema or psoriasis, or by cancers triggered by ultraviolet light. Caring for skin means more than lotions or cosmetics. It means hydration, nutrition, and protection from excess sunlight. Respecting the body's shield is not vanity, but self-preservation. When you think of the body as a home, the skin is the roof and walls, holding you together and protecting you from the elements. The hair is the insulation and decoration, the nails the tools at your fingertips. But unlike a house, the body repairs itself. It adapts, heals, and changes continuously. Each scar is like a patch in the wall, proof of repair. Each freckle is a reminder of sunlit days. Each wrinkle is a signature of time. The skin is also a communicator in ways that extend beyond immediate expression. Pheromones, subtle chemical signals are secreted through skin and hair, influencing attraction and social behavior in ways we are only beginning to understand. Though not as pronounced as in other animals, human pheromones remind us that the skin is not only a shield, but a messenger. Consider, too, how skin connects us to our earliest experiences. A newborn placed on a parent's chest calms when skin touches skin. This first contact regulates temperature, slows the infant's heart, and releases oxytocin in both parent and child. That same principle continues throughout life. Gentle touch can lower stress hormones, improve mood, and reinforce bonds. The skin is not passive. It is active in shaping emotional and social well-being. Even pain, unpleasant as it is, serves a protective purpose. Nerve endings in the skin detect damage, prompting withdrawal before harm becomes severe. Though uncomfortable, pain is a guardian, reminding us to step back from fire, to rest an injury, to notice when something is wrong. Without it, survival would be far more perilous. Pain may be an unwelcome visitor, but it is also a teacher, guiding us away from harm. Gratitude for the body includes gratitude for skin, hair, and nails. They are easy to overlook, dismissed as superficial, but they are fundamental. They shield us from microbes and toxins, regulate our temperature, allow us to feel touch and texture, and serve as instruments of expression. They carry the history of our days, the marks of our living. To care for them with respect is to care for the whole self. So as you rest tonight, remember this. Your skin is tirelessly working, holding you together, breathing with you, sensing the world for you. Your hair and nails are growing quietly, extending your body into the environment with purpose and grace. More than appearance, more than surface, they are living reminders that protection and expression coexist in the same tissues. The Body Explained is not only about organs hidden inside, but about the shield you wear every moment, the living garment that is uniquely yours. When people imagine bones, they often picture something cold and lifeless, like the skeletons in a classroom model or the fossils of ancient creatures displayed in a museum. But the truth of bones inside your body is far different. Bones are alive. They are not stone or relics. They are vibrant, dynamic tissues that grow, adapt, and heal. They form the silent scaffold that holds you upright, the framework on which muscles hang and organs are supported. Without bones and the joints that connect them, the body would collapse into formless tissue. Bones and joints give structure, movement, protection, and renewal, all while carrying the deep story of life's resilience. The human skeleton is often compared to architecture, and it is a fair comparison. It is the framework that shapes us. About 206 bones form the adult skeleton, though the number is higher at birth. Babies are born with more than 300 bones, many of them soft and separate. As the child grows, some of these fuse together, like pieces of wood joined into a stronger beam. By adulthood, the skeleton is leaner in number, but sturdier in design. Every bone has a purpose, whether as a support column, a protective shield, or a lever for movement. Think of the skull, enclosing the brain in a protective dome, or the rib cage, cradling the heart and lungs. The spine, a column of vertebrae, balances strength with flexibility, allowing you to bend and twist while protecting the spinal cord. Long bones in the arms and legs act as levers, amplifying the power of muscles. Small bones in the wrists and ankles provide fine movement. The skeleton is not only scaffolding but engineering, blending rigidity with flexibility in a way that machines struggle to replicate. The living nature of bone is perhaps its most surprising quality. Far from being static, bones are constantly being broken down and rebuilt in a process called remodeling. Specialized cells called osteoclasts dissolve old bone tissue, while osteoblasts lay down new material. This cycle continues throughout life, repairing damage, adapting to stress, and maintaining balance. Each year, about 10% of your skeleton is renewed. In a decade, most of your bones have been replaced at the cellular level, though their shapes remain. To think of bones as stone is to miss this quiet dance of destruction and creation, a cycle that makes the skeleton one of the most dynamic parts of the body. Inside bones lies marrow, a substance that looks soft and unassuming but is essential for life. Bone marrow is the birthplace of blood. Red marrow, found in larger bones like the pelvis, spine and sternum, produces red blood cells that carry oxygen, white blood cells that fight infection, and platelets that clot blood. Every second, marrow generates millions of new cells, replenishing the blood and maintaining the body's defenses. Yellow marrow, rich in fat, provides energy reserves. Marrow transforms bones from being mere supports into active participants in survival. Without marrow, oxygen could not flow, infections could not be resisted, and wounds could not heal. Joints, where bones meet, add another layer of complexity. A skeleton without joints would be rigid and immovable, like a statue. Joints give the body flexibility and grace. There are many types. Hinge joints, like the elbow and knee, allow back and forth movement. Ball and socket joints, like the hip and shoulder, allow rotation and wide ranges of motion. Pivot joints in the neck allow you to turn your head. Gliding joints in the wrists and ankles provide sliding motions. Each joint is a masterpiece of design, balancing freedom of movement with stability. Cartilage, a smooth, rubbery tissue, coats the ends of bones in joints. It reduces friction, absorbs shock, and allows bones to glide against one another without grinding. Ligaments, strong bands of connective tissue, hold bones together, while tendons attach muscles to bone. Synovial fluid, secreted within joint capsules, lubricates movement like oil in a machine. These components transform rigid bones into a living system of hinges, pivots, and levers, capable of both delicate gestures and powerful strides. Because bones and joints work silently, they are easy to forget until something goes wrong. A fracture brings sudden awareness to the strength of bone and the pain when that strength fails. Yet even in injury, bones reveal resilience. When a bone breaks, the body immediately begins to repair it. Blood vessels form a clot, cells swarm to build a soft callus, and gradually new bone bridges the gap. Over weeks and months, the repaired bone often grows stronger than before. This ability to heal distinguishes bone from many other tissues. It is not indestructible, but it is remarkably forgiving. Bones also act as reservoirs of minerals, especially calcium and phosphorus. These minerals strengthen the skeleton, but are also vital for nerve function, muscle contraction, and energy production. When the body needs calcium, bones release it into the blood. When levels rise, bones absorb it again. In this way, bones are not simply structural, they are metabolic organs, quietly balancing chemistry for the sake of life. The density of bone changes over time. In childhood and adolescence, bones grow rapidly, lengthening at growth plates and thickening with new deposits. By early adulthood, peak bone mass is reached, the skeleton at its strongest. After that, balance shifts gradually, with breakdown outpacing renewal. This is natural aging, though lifestyle factors like nutrition, exercise, and hormones play major roles. Weight-bearing activities like walking or dancing stimulate bone formation, reminding us that bones respond to use. Even as silent scaffolds, they listen and adapt. The story of joints is similar. Healthy joints glide smoothly, but over time or with excessive stress, cartilage can wear down. This condition, known as osteoarthritis, leads to stiffness and pain. Yet even here, the body shows adaptability. Muscles strengthen to stabilize weakened joints. Medical science develops treatments to reduce pain and restore function. The balance of stability and movement, protection and flexibility is a delicate one, but the body manages it with remarkable endurance. bones are deeply linked to identity. Forensic scientists can estimate age, sex, ancestry, and health from skeletal remains. The pelvis reveals childbirth history. The teeth reveal diet. The long bones reveal stature. Bones are records, not only of genetics but of lived experience. Stress leaves marks. Injuries leave healed lines. Nutrition leaves signatures of strength or fragility. To read bones is to read history written in calcium. Joints, too, carry memory. Repetitive use leaves imprints, from the knees of lifelong runners to the wrists of dedicated musicians. They carry the echoes of every step, every gesture, every motion repeated across years. The body's scaffold is not only support, it is a chronicle of life lived. Despite their strength, bones and joints also remind us of vulnerability. Diseases like osteoporosis weaken bone density, increasing the risk of fracture. Autoimmune conditions like rheumatoid arthritis inflame joints, mistaking self for enemy. These conditions underscore the need for care. Adequate calcium and vitamin D, regular exercise, balance between movement and rest, all are forms of respect for the scaffold that carries us. To care for bones and joints is to invest in longevity, mobility, and independence. The beauty of the skeleton lies in its paradox. It is rigid enough to support, yet dynamic enough to renew. It is silent in daily life, yet essential in every movement. It hides beneath skin and muscle, yet its presence shapes every contour. It is strong enough to endure decades, yet fragile enough to break with a fall. In this paradox lies the truth of the body, strength and vulnerability entwined. Even in stillness, bones work. Lying in bed, they hold you upright. Sitting quietly, joints shift to balance weight. Walking across a room, the skeleton acts like a machine of levers and pulleys, each bone and joint in harmony with muscle. Every gesture, from lifting a cup to turning a page, depends on this silent scaffold. You rarely notice it, and that is its triumph. It works so seamlessly that you forget it is there. If you pause to imagine your own skeleton not as a Halloween symbol, but as a living framework, you might feel awe. Within you lies a cathedral of bone, its arches supporting, its pillars rising, its joints flexing like hinges of a great structure. It is not stone but living wood, bending, repairing, alive. Each step you take is a testament to its design, each healed fracture a testament to its renewal. The marrow within bones links the skeleton to the bloodstream, joining the architecture of life to the circulation of life. Every drop of blood owes its existence to the hidden workshops inside bone cavities. This connection reminds us that no system stands alone. The skeleton is not separate from the heart or the lungs or the brain. It is woven into the whole, providing both support and sustenance. The silence of bones is deceptive. They do not beat like the heart or rumble like the stomach. They do not flash signals like the nervous system. Yet their work is constant, and their absence would be catastrophic. Silence does not mean insignificance. It means steadiness, the quiet labor of a scaffold that asks for little and gives everything. So as you rest and reflect, consider the bones and joints not as distant anatomical facts, but as companions. They hold you upright when you face the world. They flex and pivot so you can reach, embrace, or dance. They repair themselves when broken. They give shelter to marrow that creates your blood. They are alive, adaptive, and resilient. They are not stone, but tissue, not fossils, but friends. In the story of the body explained, bones and joints deserve reverence. They are the silent scaffold, the architecture of movement and protection. To respect them is to nourish them, to move them, to let them adapt. To ignore them is to risk fragility. They are your hidden foundation, your frame, your pillars, and they are alive, carrying you faithfully through every moment of your life. Every step you take is a quiet symphony of muscle fibers contracting and releasing, an orchestra of tissues playing in perfect time without needing a conductor you can see. Muscles are often imagined as symbols of strength, measured in size or tone, but the truth is more subtle and more profound. Muscles are the power in every breath you take, every blink of your eyes, every gesture of your hands, every word that leaves your mouth. Without them, the skeleton would be motionless scaffolding, the heart would be silent, the lungs would not expand, and life itself would stall. Muscles are not accessories to the body, they are its movement, its rhythm, its ability to act upon the world. The human body contains three kinds of muscle: skeletal, smooth, and cardiac. Each plays its own part in the music of life. Skeletal muscle is the one we can see and feel, stretching along the arms, legs, and torso, attached to bones by tendons. These muscles are voluntary, meaning you can decide to move them, and they obey. Smooth muscle is hidden, lining the walls of organs and blood vessels, moving food along the digestive tract, narrowing or widening airways, guiding the rhythm of circulation. Cardiac muscle is found only in the heart, endlessly contracting and releasing to pump blood, tireless from the first moment of life until the last. Together, these three types weave activity into every cell and every system. Skeletal muscle alone accounts for nearly half of your body weight. It is built from bundles of fibers, each fiber a long cell filled with proteins that slide past one another to shorten and lengthen. This sliding action, fueled by the energy of molecules like ATP, is what makes contraction possible. When a nerve sends a signal, calcium floods into the fiber, proteins lock together and the muscle pulls. Release the signal and the proteins disengage, the fiber relaxes. Multiply this by millions of fibers in a single muscle and then billions across the body, and you have the power to walk, run, lift, and balance. The mechanics are microscopic, but the results are monumental. Movement is not the only gift of skeletal muscle. These tissues also generate heat, helping to keep the body warm. When you shiver in the cold, what you feel is rapid, involuntary contraction of muscles producing warmth. Muscle tissue also stores glucose and uses it for fuel, playing a key role in metabolism. Strong muscles protect joints by absorbing shock, stabilizing alignment, and sharing the work of movement. They are engines, heaters, and guardians, all in one. Smooth muscle is quieter, often overlooked because it works in the background. When you swallow, smooth muscle in the esophagus contracts in waves, pushing food toward the stomach. In the stomach and intestines, smooth muscle churns and propels, breaking down food and moving nutrients along. In blood vessels, smooth muscle contracts to raise blood pressure or relaxes to lower it, maintaining balance moment by moment. You do not choose these movements. They are managed by the autonomic nervous system, the body's automatic pilot. Smooth muscle is the invisible workforce, sustaining life without asking for conscious attention. Cardiac muscle is unique. It shares structural features with skeletal muscle, but acts more like smooth muscle in being involuntary. What makes it remarkable is its rhythm. The cells of cardiac muscle are electrically connected, so when one contracts, its neighbors follow, creating a wave of contraction that ripples across the heart. This coordination allows the heart to beat steadily, day and night, for decades without rest. Cardiac muscle cells even generate their own electrical impulses, a built-in pacemaker ensuring that the rhythm continues. It is the drumbeat of life, steady from the first weeks in the womb to the final moments of existence. Muscles do not act alone. Every movement is a partnership between muscles, bones, joints, and nerves. When you raise your arm, some muscles contract while others lengthen. When you walk, one leg swings forward while the other stabilizes. Antagonist pairs, muscles that pull in opposite directions, create balance and control. Coordination is as important as strength. A ballet dancer balancing on toes, a child learning to ride a bicycle, an elder rising from a chair, all depend on the smooth collaboration of muscle groups guided by signals from the nervous system. Even the act of breathing is powered by muscles. The diaphragm, a dome-shaped sheet beneath the lungs, contracts and flattens with each inhale, creating space for air to rush in. Intercostal muscles between the ribs lift the chest, expanding the lungs further. Exhale, and these muscles relax, allowing air to flow out. Breathing feels automatic, but it is a muscular rhythm, a gentle rise and fall orchestrated by tissues we rarely notice until illness or exertion makes them known. The very act of sighing in relief, speaking a word or singing a song is built on this muscular dance of the diaphragm and chest. Posture, too, is the silent work of muscles. At this very moment, muscles in your back, neck, and abdomen are holding you upright against gravity. They adjust constantly, making tiny corrections to keep you balanced, whether you are sitting, standing, or lying down. When posture falters, muscles ache because they are overworked or misaligned. When posture is strong, the body feels lighter, movements more fluid. Muscles are the guardians of alignment, shaping how we carry ourselves through space. Muscle strength and endurance are not fixed traits, but adaptive responses. When you use muscles regularly, they grow stronger. Exercise causes microscopic tears in muscle fibers, which repair with added thickness, increasing power. Endurance training, like walking or cycling, encourages muscles to build more mitochondria, the tiny power plants of cells, increasing stamina. Even gentle activity, like stretching or yoga, keeps muscles supple and coordinated. Just as bones adapt to stress, muscles respond to use. They reward attention and effort with resilience. Yet muscles are also shaped by rest. Without movement, they shrink and weaken, a process called atrophy. Long periods of immobility reduce strength rapidly, reminding us that motion is essential to health. The phrase, "use it or lose it," is more than a saying. It is biology. Muscles thrive on movement, and they decline without it. This is why rehabilitation after injury focuses so much on gentle exercise. Awakening muscles keeps the body from fading into fragility. Every muscle carries memory. A pianist's fingers, trained by years of practice, glide without thought. A swimmer's stroke is etched into tissue. A child learning to tie shoelaces repeats until the action becomes second nature. This is muscle memory, not stored in the fibers themselves, but in the nervous pathways that control them, reinforced through repetition. The collaboration of nerve and muscle becomes so smooth that conscious effort falls away. Skill feels like instinct, though it is the product of countless tiny adjustments. Even facial expressions are muscular masterpieces. Dozens of small muscles in the face allow you to smile, frown, raise an eyebrow, or close your eyelids. These muscles communicate emotion without words, creating connection across cultures and languages. A smile of joy, a furrow of worry, a glance of surprise, all are carried by muscle contractions so subtle and rapid that we often forget the immense complexity behind them. Muscles are as much about expression as they are about motion. Muscles also play a vital role in circulation. Beyond the heart, skeletal muscles act as pumps for blood and lymph. As they contract, they squeeze veins, pushing blood back toward the heart, aided by valves that prevent backflow. This is especially important in the legs, where blood must travel upward against gravity. Walking, therefore, is not just locomotion. It is a circulatory boost, a partnership between muscles and vessels that sustains health. Without regular muscle activity, circulation slows, swelling increases, and the body struggles to clear waste. Movement is medicine, and muscles are its delivery system. Pain and fatigue are reminders that muscles are alive and responsive. After intense exertion, microscopic damage and chemical buildup create soreness. This is not failure, but adaptation, a signal that repair and growth are underway. Chronic pain, however, tells another story, often rooted in imbalance, overuse, or tension. Listening to muscle signals without judgment is a form of respect, helping you adjust, rest, or strengthen as needed. The body speaks through sensation, and muscles are one of its clearest voices. The resilience of cardiac muscle deserves special reverence. While skeletal muscle rests between movements and smooth muscle pulses in waves, the heart never stops. It beats about 100,000 times each day, billions of times in a lifetime, fueled by oxygen and nutrients delivered through coronary arteries. When deprived of oxygen, cardiac muscle suffers, reminding us of its vulnerability. Yet, with care, healthy nutrition, regular movement, stress management, the heart remains astonishingly durable, a tireless engine sustaining every cell. Muscles are also shaped by hormones and age. Growth hormones and testosterone encourage muscle development in youth, while aging gradually reduces mass and strength. This process, called sarcopenia, begins subtly, but can be slowed with activity. Muscles, like bones, respond to challenge at any age. Even gentle strength training in later life can preserve independence, balance, and vitality. Muscles never lose their ability to adapt. They simply wait for the invitation to move. The beauty of muscles lies in their harmony. Skeletal, smooth, and cardiac muscles are different in form, but unified in purpose: to keep life in motion. They transform intention into action, fuel into energy, contraction into rhythm. They carry us across rooms, across miles, across decades. They protect us, heal us, and express us. And they do all this silently, without asking for thanks, without demanding attention, until strain or weakness makes them known. To think of the body explained is to think of muscles as not merely parts, but as companions. They are not only engines of motion, but also storytellers of experience. They hold the memory of every step, every embrace, every effort, and every rest. They are the power in every step you take, the quiet endurance behind every breath, the grace in every gesture. As you rest now, consider the miracle of muscles working even in sleep. Your heart continues to beat, your diaphragm continues to rise and fall, smooth muscles continue to guide digestion, and skeletal muscles hold posture as you shift. The orchestra never stops. It plays on, steady and gentle, carrying you through the night. To respect the body is to honor this music, to notice the power hidden in every contraction, the motion behind every moment. Muscles are not stone, not symbols, but living threads woven into life itself. The nervous system is one of the most extraordinary features of the human body, the network that turns sparks of electricity into thought, feeling, and action. It is the body's communication system, faster than the blink of an eye, weaving together senses, reflexes, emotions, and movement into one seamless flow. To imagine life without it is to imagine silence, stillness, and disconnection. But to recognize it within us is to see the truth of our complexity. That every thought you think, every memory you recall, every step you take, begins with a pulse of electricity inside a neuron. The nervous system has two great branches: the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system, made up of the brain and spinal cord, is the command center. It interprets signals, makes decisions, stores memories, and generates emotions. The peripheral nervous system is the network of nerves that spreads throughout the body, carrying messages back and forth, linking fingertips to spinal cord, eyes to visual centers, stomach to brain. Together, these systems transform a collection of organs into one living whole, binding the body into unity. At the heart of the nervous system are neurons, specialized cells unlike any other. Each neuron is shaped to transmit information. A body, slender branches called dendrites that receive signals, and a long axon that carries messages onward. The axon can be tiny or stretch a meter in length, like those that run from the spinal cord to the toes. Electrical impulses, known as action potentials, race along the axon at incredible speeds, leaping from cell to cell across synapses, tiny gaps bridged by chemical messengers called neurotransmitters. Millions of neurons firing in patterns create the rhythms of thought, sensation, and movement. The hum of neurons is the hum of life. Reflexes show the nervous system at its most efficient. If you touch something sharp or hot, the body responds before you have time to think. Sensory nerves in the skin detect danger and send signals to the spinal cord, which routes an immediate command back to the muscles. Pull away. The brain is informed after the fact, but survival does not wait. Reflexes bypass deliberation to protect you instantly. They are proof that the nervous system is both a guardian and a messenger, keeping danger at bay with speed beyond awareness. Yet the nervous system is not only about protection, it is also about connection. The senses are windows to the world, each one feeding the brain with streams of data. Vision captures light and color, hearing detects vibrations in air, touch reads pressure and temperature, taste and smell reveal chemical landscapes. Together, the senses paint a picture of reality so detailed and continuous that it feels seamless. In truth, the brain is constantly interpreting, filtering, and filling in gaps. What you perceive is not raw data, but a carefully crafted version of the world, shaped by the nervous system into something coherent. The brain itself is a landscape of astonishing regions and networks. The cerebrum, with its wrinkled folds, handles higher thought, memory, and voluntary action. The cerebellum, tucked beneath, coordinates balance and fine movements. The brainstem manages breathing, heartbeat, and other vital functions that continue without conscious input. Deeper structures like the hippocampus store memories, while the amygdala processes emotion. Billions of neurons, arranged in layers and clusters, create both the logical problem-solving of mathematics and the emotional resonance of music. The brain is not just an organ of survival, but of creativity, imagination, and meaning. The spinal cord is the great highway of the nervous system, carrying signals between brain and body. Wrapped in protective vertebrae, it contains bundles of nerve fibers transmitting information in both directions. If the brain is the command center, the spinal cord is the trunk line, essential for communication. Injuries to the spinal cord reveal its importance. When signals cannot pass, sensation and motion are cut off, a reminder of how dependent the body is on unbroken pathways of communication. One of the most remarkable qualities of the nervous system is plasticity, the ability to change. For centuries, scientists believed that once the brain developed, its structure was fixed. But research has shown that neurons can rewire, new connections can form, and unused pathways can fade. This neuroplasticity allows learning, healing, and adaptation. When a person practices a skill, neurons strengthen their connections. When one part of the brain is damaged, other parts can sometimes take over. Plasticity is the nervous system's resilience, the quiet capacity to grow and adapt across a lifetime. The nervous system is also profoundly linked to emotion and memory. Feelings are not abstract. They are patterns of neural firing, combined with hormonal signals. Joy, fear, sadness, and love are experienced because neurons and chemicals dance together in complex patterns. Memory is stored not in a single place, but in networks, activated when the right signals call them forward. A smell can summon a childhood moment. A song can unlock forgotten emotion. The nervous system ties the past to the present through invisible threads of connection. Autonomic nerves extend the reach of the nervous system into functions you never notice until they falter. The sympathetic branch primes the body for action. Heart rate quickens, pupils widen, digestion slows. The parasympathetic branch restores calm. Heart rate slows, digestion resumes, muscles relax. This balance between fight or flight and rest and digest keeps the body adaptable, ready for survival, but also able to recover. Stress tips the balance, holding the system in alert mode too long, while relaxation restores equilibrium. The nervous system listens not only to the outside world, but to the inner state of the body, adjusting constantly. Communication between neurons is delicate but powerful. Each synapse is a tiny gap, yet it holds immense potential. Neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, acetylcholine, and GABA cross the gap, carrying messages that influence mood, memory, motion, and focus. A small imbalance can ripple outward, altering how a person feels or behaves. Medicines that act on these chemicals reveal how central they are to daily life. The nervous system is chemistry and electricity intertwined, biology's most intricate circuitry. Motion itself is a triumph of neural control. To lift a hand requires sensory input from the eyes and joints, motor commands from the brain, coordination through the spinal cord, and activation of muscle fibers. Walking involves a rhythm generated in the spinal cord but fine-tuned by the brain, adjusted with every step by signals from feet and eyes. Even the simple act of speaking requires precise timing of muscles in the tongue, lips, and diaphragm, all guided by neural signals. Every movement, no matter how small, is proof of nervous system mastery. The senses add layers of wonder. Light striking the retina becomes electrical impulses interpreted as color and shape. Vibrations in the air bend tiny hairs in the cochlea of the ear, translated into sound. Chemicals dissolve on the tongue or in the nose, triggering receptors that create taste and smell. Pressure and temperature activate nerve endings in the skin, creating touch. These signals travel through nerves to the brain, where they are assembled into a coherent experience. Perception is not passive. It is an act of construction, guided by neural networks honed by evolution. Even sleep depends on the nervous system. Specialized neurons in the brainstem regulate cycles of wakefulness and rest, shifting the body into rhythms of deep and light sleep. During rest, the nervous system consolidates memory, clears waste from the brain, and recalibrates sensitivity. Dreams emerge as the brain fires in novel patterns, weaving emotion, memory, and imagination. Sleep is not an absence of neural activity, but a vital reorganization, proving once again that the nervous system never rests completely. Pain, though often unwelcome, is one of the nervous system's most important functions. Nociceptors, specialized sensory neurons, detect harmful stimuli and send warnings to the brain. The sensation of pain prompts protection, withdrawal, and healing. Chronic pain, however, reveals the complexity of neural pathways, where signals can persist even after tissues heal. The nervous system is both protector and, at times, a source of distress. Yet even here, plasticity offers hope. Therapies can retrain pathways, reducing sensitivity, showing that the system can be guided back to balance. The nervous system also underlies communication between people. Tone of voice, body language, and eye contact are processed and mirrored by neural circuits. Empathy itself is rooted in the nervous system, as mirror neurons fire when we see others act or feel. This mirroring creates connection, allowing humans to share experience without words. The nervous system binds not only the parts of the body, but also individuals to one another, weaving biology into society. From infancy to old age, the nervous system evolves. Infants are born with reflexes like grasping and sucking, primal survival tools. As they grow, neurons form new connections, sculpted by experience and learning. Adolescence brings changes in brain structure, refining judgment and self-control. In adulthood, the nervous system balances speed with efficiency. With age, neurons may slow, but plasticity continues, allowing growth through practice and challenge. Across the lifespan, the nervous system is both guide and witness, shaping who we are. Technology has given us glimpses into the nervous system's mysteries. Imaging shows which regions of the brain light up with language, music, or emotion. Recordings capture the firing of single neurons during thought. Yet even with these tools, the system remains partly unknowable. The sheer complexity, billions of neurons, trillions of synapses, firing in patterns that change every instant, makes complete understanding elusive. What we know is enough to inspire awe. The nervous system is the most intricate structure we have ever encountered, and it is inside each of us. When you pause now, you might notice sensations: the pressure of the chair beneath you, the sound of your breath, the faint rhythm of your heartbeat. All of this is nervous system activity, streams of data interpreted instantly. You live in the reality created by your neurons, a world stitched together by electrical sparks and chemical signals. It is not separate from you, it is you. The nervous system is not only a biological system, but the essence of your experience of life. As you drift toward rest, consider the nervous system as both fragile and resilient. A tiny injury can disrupt signals, yet recovery and adaptation are possible. Stress can overwhelm it, yet relaxation restores it. It is as delicate as a whisper and as powerful as a storm. Respecting it means caring for sleep, nourishment, movement, and mental calm. Gratitude for it means marveling at the way a single thought can travel through your body, shaping motion, memory, and meaning. The nervous system is the spark of thought and the vessel of feeling, the bridge between brain and body, the hidden architect of perception and action. It is alive in every reflex, every heartbeat, every word spoken, every dream dreamed. To explain the body is to honor the nervous system, the living current that flows through all of us, carrying the story of who we are. The brain is one of the most mysterious landscapes known to us, a universe folded into the space of just a few pounds of tissue, yet capable of shaping entire lifetimes of thought, memory, and emotion. To speak of the brain is to speak of the mind, because within its folds and circuits lies the essence of what we call the self. The brain is not only an organ of survival, but also the seat of awareness, imagination, and meaning. It is a structure made of neurons and chemistry, but it becomes a mind filled with stories, dreams, and the quiet voice we recognize as I. Billions of neurons connect in trillions of pathways, carrying electrical impulses at breathtaking speed. These neurons alone do not create the mind, but together, in patterns of firing and networks of connection, they allow for memory, learning, creativity, and resilience. The brain is divided into regions with specialized roles, but none of them work in isolation. The frontal lobes make decisions and plan for the future. The temporal lobes store memories and interpret sound. The parietal lobes sense touch and space, and the occipital lobes create vision. The cerebellum quietly coordinates balance and fine motion, while the limbic system deep inside handles emotion and motivation. Layered together, they form a system so intricate that we are only beginning to understand its depth. Memory is one of the most fascinating features of the mind. Every moment of your life leaves a trace, but not all traces are kept. Some fade within seconds, while others settle into long-term networks that last a lifetime. Short-term memory holds information briefly, like a phone number or a sentence, while long-term memory stores names, faces, languages, and experiences. Some memories are explicit, consciously recalled, while others are implicit, shaping habits and skills without needing thought. When you tie a shoe or ride a bike, you are relying on implicit memory. When you recall your first day of school, you are using explicit memory. Both kinds are products of neurons wiring together through repetition and reinforcement. Emotion is equally central to the brain and mind. Feelings are not intangible forces floating outside biology. They are patterns of neural firing and chemical release. Joy, sadness, fear, and love all arise when brain regions like the amygdala, prefrontal cortex, and hippocampus interact with hormones like cortisol, dopamine, and oxytocin. These feelings color perception, influence decision-making, and shape the story of self. Without emotion, memory would be flat, decisions mechanical, life stripped of resonance. The brain does not simply process facts, it imbues them with feeling, and in doing so, it creates meaning. The brain also governs sleep, that mysterious state where consciousness fades, but the nervous system remains active. Sleep comes in cycles, moving through light stages, deep, slow-wave rest, and the vivid theatre of REM sleep, where dreams emerge. During sleep, the brain consolidates memory, cleanses itself of waste, and recalibrates sensitivity. Dreams weave fragments of memory, emotion, and imagination into stories that often defy logic, yet reveal deep themes. They are proof that the brain is never idle, even in rest, always shaping, reorganizing, and renewing itself. Without sleep, memory falters, emotions grow unstable, and resilience declines. Sleep is not optional for the brain. It is essential maintenance. Creativity is another expression of the brain's power. It arises when different networks communicate in unusual ways, linking distant ideas into new forms. The default mode network, active when the mind wanders, combines with executive networks that focus attention, producing insight. This is why ideas often come during rest, in the shower, or before sleep. When the brain drifts freely, connections appear. Creativity is not reserved for artists or inventors. It is the universal ability of the brain to recombine, reimagine, and reframe. Every solution, every new perspective, every act of adaptation is creativity at work. Learning is the process by which the brain changes itself. Each new skill, fact, or habit leaves a trace in the form of strengthened synapses or new pathways. Neuroplasticity, the ability of neurons to rewire, is the foundation of learning. A child acquiring language, a musician mastering an instrument, an elder learning a new skill, all are reshaping their brains. This ability continues throughout life, though it may slow with age. Practice reinforces connections, making them faster and stronger. Learning is the brain's way of adapting to the world, an endless capacity to expand and evolve. Resilience is another gift of the brain and mind. Life brings stress, loss, and change, but the brain adapts. Neural pathways can be reshaped by therapy, meditation, and supportive relationships. Positive experiences strengthen networks of calm and safety, while difficult experiences can be reframed, altering their impact. Resilience is not the absence of struggle, but the ability to recover, to rewire, to build new meaning even after hardship. The brain's adaptability is the biological foundation of hope. Self-awareness, perhaps the most profound feature of the mind, arises from the brain's ability to reflect on itself. To think about thinking, to observe emotions, to consider past and future, this capacity gives rise to what we call the self. The prefrontal cortex, working with other regions, generates the inner voice, the sense of continuity, the perspective that says, "This is me." Yet even this sense of self is flexible, shaped by experience, culture, and memory. It is both biological and philosophical, a product of firing neurons that gives rise to meaning and identity. The brain is also social, built for connection. Mirror neurons allow us to feel empathy, firing when we see others act or express emotion. Shared laughter, compassion, and understanding are not abstract. They are neural events. The brain thrives on connection, and isolation strains it. Relationships shape neural pathways, influencing resilience, mood, and health. To nurture the mind is also to nurture connection, because the brain is wired for community. Stress reveals the delicate balance of the brain and body. Short bursts of stress sharpen focus and mobilize energy, but chronic stress floods the brain with cortisol, damaging memory and emotion. The hippocampus, essential for memory, is particularly vulnerable. Yet practices like mindfulness, deep breathing, and rest can calm the stress response, protecting the brain. This interplay shows how thought, emotion, and biology are inseparable. The brain is not floating above the body. It is woven into its rhythms, affected by hormones, movement, and breath. The story of aging reveals another layer of the brain's resilience. With time, neurons may slow, memory may falter, and reflexes may become less sharp. But the brain retains its capacity for growth and learning. Cognitive reserve, the ability to use alternative pathways, can be strengthened through education, creativity, and activity. Elders who continue to learn, engage socially, and stay active often maintain sharper minds. The brain may age, but it does not stop adapting. It remains a living, changing organ until the end. Technology has allowed us glimpses into the living brain. Imaging shows networks lighting up during thought, emotion, or creativity. Electrodes record the firing of single neurons as memories form. These tools reveal that the brain is not static but dynamic, always shifting. Yet even with these advances, the brain and mind remain partly mysterious. We can describe firing patterns and neurotransmitters, but the leap from biology to subjective experience, the way neurons create the sense of self, remains unsolved. This mystery is part of the wonder, reminding us that the brain is more than the sum of its parts. Even silence in the mind is an achievement of the brain. Meditation, practiced for centuries, shows that attention can be trained. The brain learns to quiet wandering thoughts, to focus on breath or stillness. Neuroscience shows that meditation strengthens networks of attention and calm, reducing stress and enhancing resilience. The practice reveals that the brain is not only a machine of constant noise, but also capable of stillness, awareness, and peace. Emotion, memory, sleep, creativity, learning, resilience, self-awareness, all are products of the brain and mind. They are the layers of thought that make us human. Without them, life would be mechanical, stripped of meaning. With them, life becomes a story, rich with feeling, memory, and imagination. The brain is not just a structure inside the skull. It is the living current of who you are. As you rest now, consider the quiet miracle of the brain at this very moment. Neurons are firing, memories are being stored, emotions are being balanced, and awareness is flowing. Even as you drift towards sleep, your brain will continue, guiding dreams, consolidating memory, and restoring balance. It is the organ that never stops, carrying the story of self through time. Respecting it means caring for sleep, nourishing it with healthy experiences, and offering it compassion when it struggles. The brain and mind are not separate. They are two views of the same reality. The brain is the physical structure, the circuits and chemistry. The mind is the experience, the voice, the story. Together, they create the human journey. Thought layered on thought, memory intertwined with emotion, resilience woven into identity. To explain the body is to honor this masterpiece, the most complex known structure in the universe, sitting quietly within you, carrying the self from one moment to the next. The heart is the rhythm of life, a quiet drummer that begins beating before you are even born and continues faithfully through every moment of your existence. It is both an organ and a symbol, at once the pump that sustains circulation and the image of love, courage, and endurance. To pause and consider it is to be humbled, for this small muscular organ beats more than 100,000 times every day, never resting, never asking for applause, yet keeping you alive with every pulse. Inside the chest, just behind the sternum and slightly to the left, the heart sits nestled and protected by the ribcage. Though it weighs less than a pound, it commands the entire cardiovascular system, driving blood through an intricate network of vessels that stretch for nearly 60,000 miles if laid end to end. These vessels, the arteries, veins, and capillaries, are the highways of circulation, delivering oxygen, nutrients, hormones, and immune cells while carrying away waste. The heart is not a solitary worker, but the engine at the center of a vast system of flow. The heart itself is composed of 4 chambers, each with a role in this steady cycle. The right atrium receives oxygen-poor blood returning from the body, passing it into the right ventricle, which pumps it toward the lungs. There, carbon dioxide is exchanged for oxygen, and freshly oxygenated blood returns to the left atrium. From there, it flows into the left ventricle, the strongest chamber, which contracts with force to send blood through the aorta and into the body. This cycle repeats endlessly, each chamber opening and closing its valves in precise timing, like a symphony of muscle and pressure. What makes the heart remarkable is that it is self-starting. Specialized cells in the sinoatrial node generate electrical impulses that ripple across the heart, causing the chambers to contract in rhythm. This node, often called the natural pacemaker, requires no external signal. Even in isolation, a heart can continue to beat for a time, its rhythm born from the chemistry of its cells. Every pulse you feel in your wrist or neck is the echo of this tiny cluster of cells, sending out their spark of life. Circulation is more than motion, it is balance. Blood carries oxygen from the lungs to tissues, delivers glucose and nutrients from digestion, and transports hormones that guide growth, stress, and metabolism. It ferries immune cells to sites of infection, clotting factors to wounds, and heat to the skin for temperature regulation. Each red blood cell completes a round trip in less than a minute, traveling from lungs to tissues and back, propelled by the heart's rhythm. It is a ceaseless river of life, reshaped and replenished every heartbeat. The blood vessels themselves are as extraordinary as the heart. Arteries, with thick, muscular walls, carry blood under pressure away from the heart, branching into smaller arterioles, and then into the delicate networks of capillaries. These capillaries are so fine that red blood cells must pass in single file, delivering oxygen directly to cells. From there, blood collects into venules and then veins, returning to the heart. Veins contain valves to prevent backflow, ensuring that blood always moves toward the chest. Together, arteries and veins form loops of circulation, systemic to the body and pulmonary to the lungs, each one vital, each one perfectly tuned to the rhythm of life. The pulse is the outward sign of this inward rhythm. Place your fingers on your wrist and you can feel the wave of blood traveling through the radial artery, a tangible link to the beating of your heart. That steady thrum has been with you since the womb, when the first flicker of cardiac activity began. The pulse changes with exertion, rising to deliver more oxygen to muscles, slowing at rest, quickening with emotion, calming with breath. It is a direct communication from body to mind, reminding you that you are alive in every second. The heart is also adaptable. Trained athletes often develop lower resting heart rates, their hearts so efficient that fewer beats are needed to maintain flow. Stress, illness, and environment all affect heart rate, yet the organ responds with resilience. In moments of fear or excitement, adrenaline surges and the heart pounds. In moments of calm, parasympathetic signals ease the rhythm. The heart listens constantly to the body's needs and adjusts, second by second, for survival. Though we often imagine bones as strong and muscles as powerful, it is the heart that may be the most tireless muscle of all. Unlike skeletal muscles, which fatigue after sustained exertion, cardiac muscle is built for endurance. Its fibers are interlaced with mitochondria, the energy-producing structures of cells, in far greater density than most tissues. This design ensures that the heart has a constant supply of power, capable of contracting more than 3 billion times over an average lifetime. It is the perfect design for an organ that cannot pause. The history of humanity has long associated the heart with more than physiology. Ancient cultures saw it as the seat of the soul, the source of courage and emotion. While we now know that thoughts and feelings arise in the brain, the symbolism remains, perhaps because the heart responds so visibly to emotion. Fear makes it race, love makes it swell, grief can make it ache. These sensations tie the heart to the deepest parts of human experience. Its rhythm reflects not only biology, but the currents of life itself. Heart health is one of the most important aspects of overall wellness. The cardiovascular system thrives when nourished with regular movement, balanced nutrition, rest, and stress management. Exercise strengthens the heart as surely as it strengthens skeletal muscles, teaching it efficiency. A diet rich in whole foods supports the vessels, while sleep and relaxation allow it to reset. The opposite is also true. Chronic stress, sedentary habits, or poor nutrition strain the system. Respecting the heart means recognizing that its resilience is great but not limitless. What is often forgotten is that the heart itself has its own blood supply. The coronary arteries, branching from the aorta, encircle the heart like a crown, delivering oxygen to the very muscle that pumps for the rest of the body. When these vessels are narrowed or blocked, the heart suffers. Chest pain, called angina, or heart attacks, occur when blood cannot reach the muscle. These conditions remind us that even the organ of endurance requires its own care. To support the heart is to protect the very foundation of life. The sound of the heartbeat is one of the most recognizable rhythms in existence. The lub-dub, heard through a stethoscope, is the sound of valves closing as blood moves through the chambers. This sound, at once mechanical and alive, has been used by doctors for centuries to assess health. Murmurs, irregularities, or silence each tell stories about the state of the heart. To listen to a heartbeat is to listen to the story of circulation, written in rhythm. The heart also communicates with the brain in a two-way partnership. Signals from the nervous system adjust heart rate, but the heart sends information back as well. The state of the cardiovascular system influences mood, energy, and alertness. This dialogue between heart and mind explains why stress, emotion, and thought can alter pulse, and why practices like meditation and deep breathing can calm it. The heart and brain are not separate rulers of the body, but partners in constant conversation. In the stillness of sleep, the heart continues its steady work. During deep rest, heart rate slows, blood pressure drops, and the body repairs itself. During dreams, the rhythm may quicken with emotion. No matter the state of mind, the heart continues. It is the metronome of life, steady even when consciousness drifts. The sound of a heartbeat against a pillow or through a stethoscope is reassurance. The rhythm of life endures. The heart's resilience is astonishing. It can adapt to great changes, enduring strenuous exertion, illness, and even injury. Surgeons can repair valves, graft vessels, and even transplant entire hearts, and yet the organ continues to beat, often with renewed strength. Patients with artificial pacemakers rely on technology to maintain rhythm, a reminder of how delicately tuned the system is and how modern medicine can now support what nature designed. Still, the simplest truth about the heart is often the most profound. It begins beating before birth, often detected in the earliest stages of pregnancy, a flicker of motion that signals life. It continues until the final moment, marking the span of existence in pulses. Every memory, every breath, every act of love is carried on its rhythm. The heart is not simply part of the body, it is the steady drum that holds the entire story of a human life. As you rest now, consider the quiet loyalty of your own heart. It has been with you in moments of joy and sorrow, speeding with excitement, slowing with peace, sometimes aching, but always carrying you forward. It has asked little of you beyond care and respect, and in return, it has given you life itself. To feel its rhythm is to feel the essence of being alive. The heart is the rhythm of life, and its steady beat is the most faithful companion you will ever have. The lungs are the gateways between the inner world of the body and the vast expanse of the atmosphere. Every breath you take is a silent exchange with the universe, a rhythm so constant that it often passes unnoticed until it falters. Oxygen flows in, carbon dioxide flows out, and in this simple cycle lies the foundation of life. Air is not just a background to existence. It is fuel, medicine, and companion. To notice the breath is to notice the present moment. For each inhale and exhale is a reminder that you are alive right now. Inside the chest, the lungs rest like twin sponges, soft and resilient, expanding and contracting in partnership with the diaphragm, that great dome-shaped muscle beneath them. With every breath in, the diaphragm pulls downward, enlarging the chest cavity and drawing air inside. With every breath out, it relaxes, letting air flow back into the world. This rhythm continues whether you think about it or not, guided by the autonomic nervous system, yet it can also be brought under conscious control. You can hold a breath, slow it, quicken it, or sigh. Few systems of the body offer such a bridge between the automatic and the voluntary. Air enters through the nose or mouth, passing down the trachea before splitting into bronchi, then into smaller bronchioles, finally arriving at the alveoli. These alveoli are tiny sacs, so numerous that together they cover a surface area of nearly 70 square meters, about the size of a tennis court. Each alveolus is lined with delicate membranes, only a cell thick, where oxygen passes into blood and carbon dioxide passes out. It is here, at this microscopic boundary, that the true magic of respiration takes place. Gas exchange, the invisible handshake between body and world. Oxygen carried in from the breath binds to hemoglobin inside red blood cells. This oxygen will be released into tissues, fueling the metabolism that powers every movement, every thought, every beat of the heart. At the same time, carbon dioxide, the byproduct of cellular activity, is carried back to the lungs and exhaled. This cycle repeats constantly, linking every cell in the body to the act of breathing. In less than a minute, the oxygen you just inhaled will reach your brain, fueling the neurons that make thought possible. Breath is not abstract. It is the direct energy of life. The balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide is more than chemistry. It shapes how you feel. Too little oxygen leaves you dizzy and weak. Too much carbon dioxide makes you anxious and short of breath. The body regulates both with exquisite sensitivity, adjusting breathing rate automatically to match demand. Run up a hill, and sensors in the brainstem and blood vessels register rising carbon dioxide, urging faster breaths. Rest quietly, and the system slows. Even the faintest shifts are corrected without conscious effort, the body always seeking equilibrium. The lungs are not merely mechanical pumps. They are lined with cilia, tiny hair-like structures that sweep out dust and microbes, and coated with mucus that traps particles before they reach delicate alveoli. Immune cells patrol the airways, ready to attack invaders. The lungs are guardians as well as exchangers, filtering the air to keep the inner body safe. Yet they are also vulnerable. Smoke, pollution, and disease can scar these tissues, reducing their efficiency. To breathe clean air is not just comfort, but health itself. Breath is also a powerful regulator of the mind. Slow, steady breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, calming heart rate, lowering blood pressure, and easing stress. Fast, shallow breathing has the opposite effect, signaling danger, priming the body for fight or flight. This is why practices like meditation, yoga, or even a deep sigh can change how you feel. The lungs speak directly to the brain, a feedback loop where rhythm and emotion intertwine. A single conscious breath can soften tension and bring clarity. From the moment of birth, the lungs announce life with a cry. Fluid-filled during pregnancy, they expand for the first time with that first breath, setting the rhythm that will continue for decades. Across a lifetime, you will take more than 500 million breaths, each one exchanging gases, each one sustaining you without fanfare. Unlike the heart, which beats with quiet insistence, the lungs move in a way that you can sense and even shape. This interplay between unconscious necessity and conscious control makes breathing one of the most intimate bridges between body and mind. The lungs are adaptable, expanding their capacity with exercise or altitude. Athletes train their respiratory systems to deliver oxygen more efficiently. Climbers at high altitudes adjust to thinner air by producing more red blood cells. Singers and wind musicians strengthen their lungs to hold long notes. The structure of the lungs is built for resilience, responding to challenge with growth. Even simple daily activity keeps them healthy, for the act of breathing deeply clears passages and stretches tissues. Though silent most of the time, the lungs can also produce sound. Exhaled air vibrates the vocal cords in the larynx, turning breath into speech, song, and laughter. In this way, the lungs not only fuel the body, but also carry expression. Every story told, every word whispered, every song sung, begins with an exhale. Breath is communication, transforming oxygen into meaning. Sleep brings another perspective to breathing. During rest, the rate slows, muscles relax, and the lungs continue their quiet work. In dreams, the breath can change with emotion, quicker during excitement, slower in calm. Disorders like sleep apnea, where breathing stops temporarily, remind us of the fragility of this rhythm. To breathe smoothly through the night is to nourish every organ with oxygen, keeping brain and body restored. The lungs are not identical twins. The right lung has 3 lobes, while the left has 2, leaving room for the heart. Both are wrapped in pleura, slippery membranes that allow them to expand and contract without friction. Between them lies the mediastinum, containing the heart, trachea, and major vessels. The chest is a shared chamber of life, with lungs and heart working side by side, one moving air, the other moving blood, each dependent on the other. Oxygen delivered by lungs would mean nothing without the pump of the heart, and the heart's pumping would mean nothing without the air delivered by lungs. Disease can test the lungs, but their capacity for recovery is remarkable. After infection, tissues can heal. After surgery, remaining lobes expand to take on extra work. Even after injury, the body finds ways to adapt. Yet the lungs remind us of limits too. Long-term damage from smoking, pollutants, or chronic illness can reduce their function. This is why awareness of air quality and respiratory health is so important. Respecting the lungs is respecting life itself, for breath cannot be replaced. Throughout history, breath has been more than biology. Many cultures regard it as spirit, as energy, as the force of being. Words for breath often overlap with words for life or soul. To breathe is to exist. Even in modern science, the symbolism holds, without breath, the body fails quickly. Perhaps this is why mindfulness practices center on breathing, teaching that awareness of breath is awareness of life itself. Every exhale carries a story. Carbon dioxide leaving the body is not just waste, but evidence of work done, of energy spent to think, to move, to live. Every inhale is a promise of renewal, oxygen waiting to fuel the next moment. Breathing is not a background process, but a rhythm that links past, present, and future. As you rest now, you might notice your own breath. Inhale, and the lungs expand softly, filling with air that has traveled across the world. Exhale, and tension leaves with it, carried back to the atmosphere. This rhythm has continued since the first breath you ever took and will continue through the last. It is steady, reliable, and yet within it lies infinite subtlety. Faster or slower, deeper or shallower, smooth or ragged, The breath reflects the state of body and mind in every moment. The lungs and breath are not merely about survival. They are about presence, balance, and connection. Oxygen fuels your cells, but breath also calms your thoughts. Carbon dioxide is exhaled, but with it often goes stress. The lungs work tirelessly, but they also invite you to pause, to notice, to be. Air as fuel, breath as medicine, lungs as guardians of life. Every moment of awareness begins here, in the simple act of breathing. The digestive system is the great alchemist of the body, taking in food from the outside world and transforming it into energy, growth, and renewal. Every bite you eat, every sip you take, enters a long and intricate pathway where it will be broken down, absorbed, and converted into fuel. Digestion is so common that most people rarely pause to think about it, yet it is one of the most astonishing processes that keeps us alive. To eat is not just to fill the stomach, it is to nourish every cell, to feed the microbiome, and to maintain the metabolism that powers motion, thought, and emotion. It begins with anticipation. Even before the first bite, the body prepares for digestion. The sight, smell, and thought of food trigger saliva to flow and stomach acid to rise, priming the system for the work ahead. Chewing is the first act of transformation, breaking food into smaller pieces and mixing it with enzymes like amylase that begin breaking down carbohydrates. The mouth is not just a gateway, but an active laboratory, where mechanical grinding and chemical processing combine. Each swallow carries food down the esophagus, moved by waves of muscle contractions called peristalsis. These rippling motions are involuntary, steady, and reliable, guiding the food toward the stomach. The stomach is the muscular chamber where food pauses to undergo deeper breakdown. Acids secreted from its lining dissolve proteins, while enzymes snip them into smaller fragments. The stomach churns rhythmically, turning food into a semi-liquid mixture called chyme. A protective mucus coats the stomach wall so that the acid does not harm the tissue. After several hours, the chyme is gradually released into the small intestine, where the most important stage of digestion occurs. Here, enzymes from the pancreas and bile from the liver join the process. Bile emulsifies fats, breaking them into droplets that enzymes can more easily dismantle. Pancreatic enzymes break down proteins, fats, and carbohydrates into their simplest forms: amino acids, fatty acids, and glucose. These are the true currencies of nutrition, the building blocks absorbed into the bloodstream. The small intestine, though named small, is a marvel of design. Its length stretches for more than 20 feet, and its inner lining is covered in folds, villi, and microvilli that increase surface area to an astonishing degree. If spread out flat, the absorptive surface would cover an area larger than a tennis court. It is here that nutrients cross from the outside world into the inner sanctum of the body. Glucose fuels cells with immediate energy. Amino acids become proteins for muscle, enzymes, and hormones. Fatty acids form membranes and store energy for the future. Vitamins and minerals, though required in small amounts, act as cofactors and catalysts for countless reactions. The small intestine is not just a tube. It is a vast interface where the world becomes part of you. Beyond nutrients, there is another player in the digestive story: the microbiome. Trillions of bacteria, viruses, and fungi live in the intestines, forming an ecosystem as complex as a rainforest. These microbes help break down fibers that the body cannot digest alone, producing beneficial compounds like short-chain fatty acids that nourish the gut lining and influence metabolism. They also interact with the immune system, training it to distinguish friend from foe. The microbiome is not separate from you. It is part of you, influencing weight, mood, immunity, and even behavior. Every meal you eat feeds both you and this microbial community. A diverse diet with fiber, fruits, vegetables, and fermented foods helps maintain a balanced microbiome, while processed diets and stress can disrupt it. Scientists now speak of the gut-brain axis, the two-way communication between the digestive system and the nervous system, showing that what happens in the gut can affect mood, memory, and mental health. After nutrients are absorbed in the small intestine, what remains passes into the large intestine, or colon. Here, water and electrolytes are reabsorbed, turning liquid chyme into solid waste. The microbiome continues its work, fermenting fibers and producing vitamins like vitamin K and certain B vitamins. The colon's slow contractions move material toward the rectum, where waste is eventually excreted. This final step of digestion, elimination, may seem simple, but it is essential for balance. Without it, toxins and waste would accumulate. The rhythm of eating, digesting, absorbing, and eliminating is the cycle of energy itself. Metabolism is the invisible companion of digestion. Once nutrients enter the bloodstream, metabolism determines how they are used. Glucose may be burned immediately for energy, stored as glycogen in the liver and muscles, or converted to fat for long-term storage. Amino acids may be used to build muscle or enzymes, or if needed, broken down for energy. Fats can be stored in adipose tissue or used to fuel cells. Hormones regulate these choices. Insulin guides glucose into cells. Glucagon releases stored energy. Thyroid hormones adjust the metabolic rate, and cortisol influences energy balance under stress. Metabolism is not just a single process, but the constant coordination of countless chemical reactions, balancing supply and demand moment by moment. Digestion is also deeply connected to experience. A heavy meal can make you sluggish, as blood is directed toward the gut. A light, balanced meal may energize you. Stress can shut down digestion, diverting blood to muscles and heart. Relaxation and calm promote efficient absorption. This is why eating slowly and mindfully can make a difference, giving the body time to process, the hormones time to signal satiety, and the gut time to absorb efficiently. Food is not only chemical fuel, but also an experience tied to culture, memory, and comfort. The digestive system responds not just to nutrients but to context. The system has remarkable resilience. The lining of the stomach and intestines renews itself every few days, shedding and regenerating cells to maintain function. The liver, central to processing nutrients and detoxifying chemicals, can regenerate after injury. The pancreas adapts to demand, adjusting enzyme secretion. Yet this resilience has limits. Prolonged poor diet, chronic stress, or toxins can overwhelm the system. Heartburn, ulcers, inflammatory bowel disease, or irritable bowel syndrome are reminders of its vulnerability. Caring for the digestive system means caring for the whole body. From birth, digestion changes with life stages. Infants rely on milk, easily digested and rich in nutrients. As children grow, their systems adapt to solid foods, learning to handle variety. Adolescents experience shifts in metabolism as hormones surge. Adults balance energy needs with activity, while aging may slow digestion, reduce enzyme production, or alter the microbiome. Each stage requires respect and adjustment, but the central truth remains: the digestive system is always at work, always turning the world into fuel for life. Science continues to uncover the layers of this system. We now understand that the gut influences not only nutrition, but also immunity, mental health, and even sleep. Serotonin, a neurotransmitter linked to mood, is largely produced in the gut. Inflammation in the intestines can ripple outward, affecting joints, skin, or brain. The digestive system is not isolated. It is a hub connecting nearly every function of the body. What you eat and how you digest it shapes far more than appetite. It shapes health itself. In the silence of sleep, digestion continues, though slowed. Muscles still contract, enzymes still break down food, nutrients still flow into blood. This continuity is part of why late-night heavy meals can disrupt rest, as the body divides its energy between repair and digestion. Yet the system never stops, even when you do. The stomach, intestines, liver, and pancreas keep turning, keeping you alive even as dreams carry you elsewhere. Breath sustains you moment by moment, but food sustains you day by day, and the digestive system is the bridge. Every cell in your body, from neurons in the brain to muscle fibers in the legs, depends on the energy extracted by digestion. The system is silent, often unnoticed, yet it underwrites everything you do. To walk, to think, to speak, to love. All are powered by the energy carried from food through this intricate journey. The digestive system is not only a machine, but also a mirror. It reflects what you give it, thriving with variety, fiber, and nourishment, struggling with imbalance. It reflects mood, responding to stress or calm. It reflects age, adapting across the decades. To understand it is to understand that energy is never free. It is earned through the partnership of body, food, and the unseen microbes that help sustain life. As you rest tonight, digestion will continue quietly. Muscles will contract, enzymes will flow, nutrients will be absorbed. Your body will take what it needs, distribute it with precision, and keep you alive until morning. Food's journey is not glamorous, but it is miraculous, a constant reminder that life depends on the silent labor of this system. Energy from within is the gift the digestive system provides, turning the outside world into the strength that carries you forward. The immune system is the body's quiet guardian, an army of defenders and healers that never truly rests. While you go about your day, while you eat, breathe, sleep, and dream, these watchful protectors patrol every corner of the body, scanning for threats, repairing damage, and remembering what they have faced before. Without the immune system, even the simplest scratch could become dangerous, and the air you breathe could overwhelm you. With it, you are shielded by a complex and beautifully coordinated network of cells, tissues, and signals that preserve health in silence. At its heart, the immune system is not just about fighting infection, but about maintaining balance. Every moment, billions of bacteria, viruses, fungi, and environmental particles come into contact with your body. Most are harmless, many are even beneficial, but some are not. The immune system must distinguish carefully between friend and foe, attacking when necessary, standing down when not. This ability to recognize and respond, to destroy invaders while protecting self, is one of the most sophisticated tasks nature has ever devised. It is not surprising that scientists call it a second brain, because it learns, adapts, and remembers. The skin, often thought of as a barrier, is actually part of the immune system too. It is the first line of defense, a physical shield coated with oils and antimicrobial molecules that repel invaders. The mucous membranes lining the mouth, nose, lungs, and digestive tract also form part of this front line. These barriers are not passive walls but active filters, trapping pathogens and directing immune cells to where they are needed. Even tears and saliva carry enzymes that can break down harmful microbes before they can take hold. The immune system begins at the surface and reaches inward, layer upon layer. Deeper within lies the innate immune system, the ancient, rapid responders that recognize general patterns of threat. Cells like macrophages engulf invaders and digest them. Neutrophils rush to infection sites with speed, and natural killer cells identify and destroy compromised body cells. These cells do not need prior knowledge of a specific invader. They act immediately, buying time until the more specialized adaptive immune system can join the battle. The innate system is blunt but fast, and in many cases, it is enough to clear a problem before it grows. When innate defenses are not enough, the adaptive immune system awakens. This part of immunity is slower to respond at first, but it brings precision and memory. Lymphocytes, the key players, divide into two main roles. B cells produce antibodies, those remarkable Y-shaped proteins that bind to invaders with specificity, marking them for destruction or blocking their entry into cells. T cells play multiple roles, from killing infected cells directly to orchestrating the entire response, directing other cells where to go and what to do. Once the adaptive system has encountered a pathogen, it remembers, storing the blueprint in memory cells that remain for years, sometimes for life. Antibodies deserve special attention because they are the immune system's tailored suits. Each antibody is designed to recognize a very particular shape, like a lock and key. Once bound, they neutralize the threat, summon other immune cells, or activate complement proteins that punch holes in invaders. Vaccines work by teaching the immune system to produce these antibodies in advance, training it to recognize a virus or bacterium without the danger of full infection. This remarkable trick allows the body to prepare for battle before it is ever needed, saving lives and preventing disease for generations. Inflammation is one of the immune system's most visible tools, though it is often misunderstood. When tissues are injured or invaded, blood vessels expand, allowing more immune cells to flood the area. The redness, heat, swelling, and pain that follow are signs of this effort. It is the body creating a controlled battlefield, walling off harm and speeding healing. Inflammation is protective when brief and targeted. But when it lingers or spirals out of control, it can cause problems, contributing to chronic conditions such as arthritis, asthma, or autoimmune disorders. In this way, the immune system walks a constant tightrope between defense and harm. The lymphatic system acts as the highway of immunity. A vast network of vessels carries lymph, a clear fluid rich in immune cells, through the body. Along the way, lymph nodes act as checkpoints, filtering out debris, presenting invaders to immune cells, and coordinating responses. These small, bean-shaped structures swell during infection, a sign of the immune system hard at work. The spleen, another organ of defense, filters blood, recycles old red blood cells, and houses immune cells that scan for blood-borne threats. Even bone marrow, where immune cells are born, is part of this intricate web. Recovery is as important as defense. After a battle, immune cells clear away dead tissue and microbes, releasing signals that encourage healing. Platelets help clot blood, fibroblasts rebuild tissue, and growth factors stimulate repair. Scars may form, but they are signs of restoration, of resilience. The immune system does not simply fight, it rebuilds, ensuring that the body is not just protected, but restored to function. This cycle of injury, defense, and healing is one of the most powerful examples of the body's ability to endure. Memory is where the immune system becomes truly extraordinary. Once exposed to a virus or bacterium, memory B cells and T cells remain, sometimes for decades, ready to respond in hours instead of days. This is why diseases like measles usually occur only once in a lifetime. The second encounter is met with overwhelming force, often before symptoms even appear. This capacity for memory makes the immune system not just reactive, but forward-thinking, a library of experience carried in your own cells. It is one of the reasons humanity has been able to reduce or eliminate once devastating diseases. But memory is not perfect. Some pathogens mutate rapidly, changing their outer shapes so that antibodies no longer recognize them. Influenza is notorious for this, which is why vaccines must be updated regularly. The immune system is resilient, but it is also locked in an endless evolutionary dance with microbes that seek to outwit it. Each side adapts, each side remembers, and the balance of health is maintained by this constant interaction. The immune system is also linked deeply with the mind. Stress, sleep, nutrition, and exercise all influence how well it functions. Chronic stress can weaken defenses, making infections more likely. Poor sleep disrupts the release of cytokines, signaling proteins essential for immune communication. Nutrition provides the raw materials for immune molecules, from vitamin C to zinc, and exercise circulates immune cells through the body more effectively. The immune system is not a separate fortress, but a reflection of lifestyle, mood, and care. To strengthen it is to strengthen the whole self. Sometimes the immune system makes mistakes, and these missteps reveal both its power and its fragility. Allergies are one example, where harmless substances like pollen or food proteins are misidentified as threats, triggering unnecessary inflammation. Autoimmune diseases go further, as the immune system attacks its own tissues, mistaking self for enemy. Conditions like type 1 diabetes, lupus, or multiple sclerosis remind us that precision in recognition is vital. The same system that can protect so brilliantly can also cause harm if its judgment falters. Even in mistakes, there is resilience. Treatments like immunotherapy, vaccines, monoclonal antibodies, and biologics now allow medicine to guide, calm, or boost immunity where needed. Scientists have learned to work with the immune system, not just against disease, but even in fighting cancer. By teaching immune cells to recognize tumor cells as threats, therapies can unleash the body's own defenders on illnesses once thought untouchable. The future of medicine is deeply tied to this hidden army within. At night, while you rest, the immune system does not. It patrols, it repairs, it remembers. Healing is often most active during sleep, which is why rest is such an essential part of recovery from illness. Dreams may come and go, but beneath them, cells are multiplying, antibodies are binding, and tissues are repairing. You wake renewed, not just because of sleep, but because your immune system has been at work in the quiet hours. The story of the immune system is not only about disease, but about life itself. Every scar healed, every cold overcome, every vaccine remembered is proof of its quiet power. It is a system that learns, that adapts, that grows with you. From infancy, when antibodies from a parent offer early protection, to adulthood, when your own defenses are in full strength, to old age, when memory cells still linger, the immune system carries your history within it. It is both shield and teacher, a record of every encounter written in cells and proteins. To honor the immune system is to recognize its constant work. Every healed wound, every infection overcome, every day of health is its gift. It is invisible most of the time, but it is always present, defending, healing, and remembering. The immune system is the body's quiet sentinel, a faithful companion in every breath, every step, and every dream. Without it, life would be brief. With it, life is protected, resilient, and enduring. The endocrine system is the body's network of chemical messengers, guiding growth, mood, energy, and balance with a quiet authority that rivals the nervous system. While nerves communicate through fast electrical signals, hormones move more slowly, carried by the bloodstream, but their influence can last longer and reach farther. Each hormone is a signal, a whisper from one organ to another, ensuring that the body works in harmony. Growth, metabolism, reproduction, sleep, stress response, and emotional shifts are all shaped by these invisible messengers. Without them, the rhythms of life would scatter into chaos. Imagine the body as a great orchestra. Each gland is an instrument, each hormone a note, and together they create the music of balance. The pituitary gland, small as a pea at the base of the brain, acts as the conductor. It releases hormones that tell other glands what to do. It can stimulate the thyroid to produce its own hormones for metabolism or signal the adrenal glands to release cortisol in times of stress. This master gland is guided in turn by the hypothalamus, a region of the brain that links nervous signals with hormonal responses. When the body senses a change in environment, temperature, hunger, fear, the hypothalamus and pituitary adjust the endocrine orchestra to keep everything in tune. The thyroid gland, shaped like a butterfly and resting in the neck, plays one of the most important roles in regulating energy. It produces thyroid hormones that determine how fast the body burns fuel. Too little, and metabolism slows, leaving a person feeling tired, cold, and sluggish. Too much, and everything speeds up. Heart races, weight drops, sleep becomes restless. The thyroid is proof of how delicate hormonal balance can be, and how wide-ranging its effects. Every heartbeat, every calorie burned, every shiver and sweat carries the mark of thyroid function. Nearby are the parathyroid glands, 4 tiny structures embedded in the thyroid's shadow. Their role is subtle but essential, regulating calcium levels. Calcium is not just for bones and teeth, but also for muscle contraction, nerve signaling, and blood clotting. The parathyroids release parathyroid hormone to raise calcium when it falls, pulling it from bones if necessary, while calcitonin from the thyroid lowers levels if they rise too high. This constant adjustment keeps the bloodstream within a narrow range, ensuring that muscles contract smoothly and nerves fire properly. The balance of calcium is a reminder that small glands can carry enormous responsibility. The adrenal glands, perched like caps on top of the kidneys, are powerhouses of response. Each adrenal gland has 2 parts. The outer cortex produces hormones like cortisol, aldosterone, and androgens. Cortisol is the body's main stress hormone, raising blood sugar and energy availability during challenge. Aldosterone regulates salt and water balance, keeping blood pressure steady. The inner medulla, on the other hand, releases adrenaline and noradrenaline, the fight-or-flight hormones that prepare the body to act in an instant. Together, the adrenals make sure that whether you are resting, running, or recovering, the right chemistry flows to meet the moment. The pancreas, tucked behind the stomach, is both a digestive organ and an endocrine one. Its endocrine role centers on blood sugar. Specialized clusters of cells release insulin, which lowers blood sugar by guiding glucose into cells, and glucagon, which raises blood sugar by prompting the liver to release stored glucose. This balance ensures that every cell has the fuel it needs without tipping into excess. When the system falters, as in diabetes, the results can be serious. Yet even here, the pancreas shows how hormones are central to daily survival, adjusting with every meal, every snack, every fast between them. Reproductive glands add another layer to the endocrine symphony. The ovaries in females produce estrogen and progesterone, guiding menstrual cycles, fertility, and pregnancy. They influence bone health, cardiovascular health, and even mood. The testes in males produce testosterone, influencing muscle mass, red blood cell production, libido, and sperm formation. Beyond reproduction, these hormones shape secondary characteristics such as voice depth, hair growth, and fat distribution. Shifts in reproductive hormones across puberty, pregnancy, or aging highlight how deeply the endocrine system weaves into identity and development. Growth hormone, secreted by the pituitary, deserves its own mention. It stimulates growth of bones and muscles in childhood, but even in adults it supports metabolism, tissue repair, and energy balance. Too little during development leads to stunted growth, too much leads to gigantism or acromegaly. It illustrates again that hormones are not optional extras, but fundamental regulators of life's trajectory. The pineal gland, small and hidden deep in the brain, plays a different role. It secretes melatonin, the hormone of sleep and circadian rhythm. As light fades, melatonin levels rise, signaling to the body that it is time to rest. As dawn approaches, levels fall, waking the system. This tiny gland connects the endocrine system to the cycles of nature, aligning body rhythms with day and night. Without melatonin's steady guidance, sleep becomes disordered, energy wanes, and mood suffers. The thymus gland, most active in childhood, is another overlooked part of the endocrine web. It produces hormones that train immune cells, teaching T lymphocytes to distinguish self from non-self. As the body matures, the thymus shrinks, but its influence endures through the immune system it helped shape. In this way, the endocrine and immune systems overlap, with hormones guiding not just growth and energy, but also defense and healing. One of the most fascinating features of the endocrine system is feedback. Hormones rarely act unchecked. Instead, rising levels feed back to the brain, telling it to slow production. Falling levels signal the need for more. This negative feedback loop keeps hormones within healthy ranges, preventing wild swings. It is a dance of precision, one that plays out across countless cycles each day. Feedback is why the thyroid does not endlessly produce hormone, why cortisol levels fall after stress passes, why blood sugar returns to baseline after a meal. Hormones influence mood as much as metabolism. Cortisol, released during stress, can heighten alertness, but in excess can contribute to anxiety or fatigue. Serotonin, though often considered a neurotransmitter, is also influenced by endocrine activity and affects well-being. Estrogen and progesterone influence mood across menstrual cycles. Testosterone is linked with energy and drive. Even small shifts can ripple into feelings of calm, excitement, irritability, or peace. This is why the endocrine system is sometimes described as a hidden emotional regulator, influencing mental health as much as physical health. As life unfolds, hormonal balance shifts. Puberty is the dramatic opening act, when reproductive hormones surge, reshaping the body and awakening fertility. Pregnancy brings its own flood of hormones, supporting the growing fetus and preparing the body for birth. Menopause and andropause mark later stages, when sex hormone levels decline, bringing changes in energy, bone health, and mood. Aging gradually alters endocrine rhythms, with slower metabolism, altered sleep patterns, and shifts in stress response. These changes are not failures, but natural phases, reminders that hormones shape the life cycle itself. Nutrition, exercise, and lifestyle play profound roles in endocrine health. Iodine supports thyroid hormone production. Adequate protein supports growth and repair. Regular exercise improves insulin sensitivity and balances cortisol. Sleep supports melatonin cycles and growth hormone release. Stress management prevents chronic cortisol elevation. Endocrine balance is not only a matter of glands, but of daily choices, woven into the fabric of living. Disorders of the endocrine system highlight its importance. Hypothyroidism slows body functions. Hyperthyroidism speeds them up. Diabetes disrupts blood sugar balance. Addison's disease reduces adrenal hormones. Cushing's syndrome elevates them. Polycystic ovary syndrome alters reproductive hormones. These conditions remind us that hormones are not optional, they are essential. Treatment often involves restoring balance, whether with replacement hormones, lifestyle adjustments, or targeted medications. Each approach acknowledges that the endocrine system underlies health in ways that are both delicate and profound. Science continues to reveal new connections. The gut microbiome influences endocrine activity through metabolites that affect insulin and cortisol. Endocrine disruptors, chemicals in the environment, can mimic or block natural hormones, raising concerns about fertility and development. Precision medicine is exploring how individual hormone profiles may guide tailored treatments. The field of endocrinology is vast, but at its heart is a simple truth. Hormones keep life in balance. At night, while you rest, the endocrine system does not. Cortisol follows a daily rhythm, lowest at midnight, rising toward dawn to prepare you for waking. Growth hormone peaks during deep sleep, repairing tissues. Melatonin flows in the darkness, aligning body and mind with rest. Even dreams are supported by this chemistry, reminding us that hormones are not distant forces, but ever-present companions. To reflect on the endocrine system is to reflect on the delicate harmony of life. It is a system that does not shout but whispers, guiding without force, sustaining without applause. Every heartbeat, every step, every laugh and sigh is shaped by its influence. From thyroid to adrenal glands, from insulin to melatonin, from growth hormone to cortisol, these messengers keep the body balanced. The endocrine system is the hidden rhythm of health, an unseen symphony that ensures energy flows, moods stabilize, and growth continues. It is balance made flesh, harmony in motion, and the quiet foundation of well-being. The reproductive system is one of the most remarkable networks within the body, designed not only for individual health, but for the continuity of life itself. It is a system that carries the story of generations, bridging the past to the future. While it is often described in terms of anatomy or fertility, its role is broader, weaving together biology, identity, development, and the wonder of creation. To speak of reproduction is to speak of the cycle of life, of how every person alive today began as a single cell, and how that cell grew, divided, and unfolded into a living, breathing being. At its core, reproduction is the biological process that allows life to continue beyond the span of one lifetime. In humans, it is carried out through two complementary systems, the male reproductive system and the female reproductive system. Though different in anatomy, both are essential, working together to carry genetic information forward. Male reproductive organs produce and deliver sperm, the microscopic carriers of half the genetic blueprint. Female reproductive organs produce eggs, provide the environment for fertilization, and, if conception occurs, nurture the developing embryo. Together, they ensure that the instructions of life, encoded in DNA, are passed to the next generation. The male reproductive system begins with the testes, two organs housed in the scrotum, which is located outside the body cavity to maintain a cooler temperature, essential for sperm production. Within the testes are tightly coiled tubules, where sperm are created through a process called spermatogenesis. Each day, millions of sperm cells are produced, each one carrying 23 chromosomes, ready to combine with an egg's 23 to create the 46 that form a human genome. Surrounding the testes, specialized cells also produce testosterone, the primary male sex hormone, which influences muscle development, voice depth, facial hair, and reproductive function. From the testes, sperm travel through the epididymis, where they mature, gaining the ability to swim. They then pass into the vas deferens, eventually mixing with fluids from the seminal vesicles, prostate gland, and bulbourethral glands to form semen, the medium that supports and transports them. The female reproductive system is equally intricate and powerful. The ovaries, small almond-shaped organs on either side of the uterus, contain thousands of follicles, each holding an immature egg. From puberty to menopause, one egg typically matures and is released during each menstrual cycle in a process known as ovulation. The egg is swept into the fallopian tube, where fertilization may occur if sperm are present. The uterus, a muscular organ, provides the environment for implantation and development. Its lining, called the endometrium, thickens each month in preparation for a possible pregnancy and is shed during menstruation if fertilization does not occur. The cervix, a narrow passage at the lower end of the uterus, connects to the vagina, which is both the birth canal and the passage through which sperm may enter. This system is not only about fertility, but also about the regulation of cycles, the balance of hormones, and the capacity to nurture life. Fertilization is the meeting of sperm and egg, a microscopic event that carries enormous consequence. Of the millions of sperm released, only a few hundred may reach the egg, and usually only one successfully fuses with it. At that instant, two sets of chromosomes unite, creating a unique genetic combination that has never existed before. The fertilized egg, now called a zygote, begins to divide as it moves down the fallopian tube toward the uterus. By the time it reaches the uterine lining, it has become a blastocyst, a cluster of cells ready to implant. Once implanted, the developing embryo draws nourishment from the mother's body, beginning the journey of growth that will last 9 months. Pregnancy is an extraordinary collaboration between mother and child. The placenta forms as a bridge of exchange, carrying oxygen and nutrients from maternal blood to the embryo while removing waste. Hormones rise to sustain the pregnancy, regulating metabolism, immune tolerance, and growth. The body adapts in countless ways. Blood volume increases, breathing deepens, ligaments loosen, and energy demands shift. Each trimester brings different stages of development. In the early weeks, organs begin to form. By the second trimester, movement can be felt, and features become distinct. By the third, systems mature, preparing the baby for life outside the womb. Throughout, the mother's body works tirelessly to maintain balance, often with resilience and strength that is nothing short of awe-inspiring. The process of birth, while varied in its details, is the culmination of this journey. Hormonal signals trigger uterine contractions, gradually opening the cervix and guiding the baby through the birth canal. The placenta follows, completing the cycle. This passage from womb to world is profound, marking the beginning of independent life. Yet even after birth, the reproductive system continues to play a role, as postpartum recovery reshapes the mother's physiology and, if chosen, breastfeeding provides nutrition and immunity to the newborn. The reproductive system is also central to identity and development. Puberty marks the awakening of reproductive capacity, guided by surges of hormones. In males, testosterone increases muscle mass, voice depth, and hair growth. In females, estrogen and progesterone shape breast development, menstrual cycles, and fertility. These changes are not only physical, but also emotional, signaling the transition from childhood to adulthood. Later in life, menopause and andropause bring shifts in reproductive hormones, altering fertility and influencing energy, mood, and bone health. These stages remind us that the reproductive system is not static but dynamic, evolving with each chapter of life. Fertility, while central, is not guaranteed. Many couples face challenges in conceiving, and infertility is a reality for millions worldwide. It can stem from issues with egg or sperm production, blocked fallopian tubes, hormonal imbalances, or conditions such as endometriosis or polycystic ovary syndrome. Advances in medicine, however, have created new possibilities. Assisted reproductive technologies such as in vitro fertilization, intrauterine insemination, and egg or sperm donation offer paths to parenthood. These options highlight both the fragility and the resilience of reproduction, demonstrating how science and biology can work together to support life. Reproduction is also deeply tied to the concept of genetics. Each egg and sperm carries DNA, the instructions of life. This genetic material determines not only traits like eye color and hair texture, but also risks for certain diseases, inherited patterns of metabolism, and responses to the environment. The reproductive system ensures that this information is passed forward, but it also creates variation. The mixing of chromosomes during fertilization and the shuffling of genes ensure that each child is unique, a new blend of ancestry and possibility. This genetic diversity is the foundation of evolution and survival, strengthening populations by spreading differences across generations. While reproduction is biological, it is also cultural, emotional, and personal. Across history, societies have built traditions, rituals, and beliefs around fertility and childbirth. For some, it is central to identity and family. For others, it is a private or even difficult subject. The reproductive system cannot be understood only in terms of anatomy. It is also part of human experience, intertwined with joy, grief, love, and resilience. Pregnancy and birth can be celebrated, but they can also involve challenges such as miscarriage or complications. Speaking of reproduction with honesty and compassion means acknowledging all of its realities, not just its successes. The reproductive system is not only about creating new life, but also about maintaining health. Hormones produced by reproductive organs influence bones, muscles, heart, and brain. Estrogen, for example, protects bone density and cardiovascular function, while testosterone supports red blood cell production and energy. Changes in reproductive hormones affect not only fertility, but overall vitality. This interconnectedness shows that reproduction is not an isolated process, but a central part of human physiology. Modern science continues to uncover new details about reproduction. Researchers study how lifestyle factors, such as nutrition, exercise, stress, and sleep, influence fertility. They explore how environmental exposures, such as endocrine-disrupting chemicals, affect reproductive health. They investigate how the microbiome of the reproductive tract influences conception and pregnancy. Each discovery adds to the understanding that reproduction is not a single event, but a complex, ongoing balance of systems. Even in sleep, the reproductive system continues its quiet work. Hormones follow daily rhythms, with pulses of secretion that regulate cycles. During deep rest, the body repairs and restores, supporting fertility and reproductive health. Just as digestion, immunity, and circulation never pause, neither does the reproductive system. It is a constant companion, guiding development, maintaining balance, and preparing for the possibility of life's continuation. To reflect on the reproductive system is to reflect on the mystery of existence. Every person alive is the result of this system functioning in harmony. Eggs meeting sperm, cells dividing, embryos growing, bodies adapting. It is a system that carries the weight of continuity, yet it works quietly, day after day, without conscious effort. It is both delicate and resilient, capable of creating life, sustaining it, and shaping identity across decades. In the stillness of night, as you breathe and rest, your reproductive system is part of the quiet chorus of the body. Hormones flow in subtle rhythms, tissues renew, cycles turn. Whether it is nurturing new life, regulating daily balance, or simply holding the blueprint of generations, it is always at work. The reproductive system is more than anatomy. It is the bridge between past and future, the gentle keeper of continuity, the reminder that life is not only lived but passed forward. It is the body's enduring promise, written in every cell, carried in every generation, and unfolding still. The urinary system is one of the body's most essential yet often overlooked guardians of health. A silent network that filters blood, regulates fluids, balances chemicals, and quietly maintains life's delicate equilibrium. Day and night, without pause, it performs the tasks that keep the body cleansed and stable. Every sip of water, every bite of food, every cell that uses energy eventually produces waste products. These byproducts must be carried away so that the inner environment remains safe for tissues and organs to function. The urinary system, with its kidneys, ureters, bladder, and urethra, is the elegant mechanism that ensures this balance, keeping the rivers of the body flowing clear. The kidneys, a pair of bean-shaped organs nestled against the back muscles just below the ribcage, are the system's central filters. Each kidney is no larger than a fist, yet each contains over 1 million microscopic filtering units called nephrons. These nephrons are the true engines of cleansing, straining blood through fine networks of capillaries and specialized tubules. With every heartbeat, about 1/4 of the body's blood flow passes through the kidneys, meaning that all of the blood in the body is filtered many times each day. This constant cleansing removes urea, creatinine, excess salts, and other waste products, while carefully conserving what the body needs. Filtration begins in the glomerulus, a tuft of capillaries wrapped inside a capsule. Blood pressure pushes plasma through the porous walls, allowing water and small molecules to pass, while larger proteins and cells remain behind. The filtrate that emerges resembles plasma, but without the heavy components, a raw fluid that will be refined as it travels through the nephron's twisting tubules. Along this path, the body reclaims glucose, amino acids, vitamins, and the majority of water, adjusting ion concentrations to maintain chemical balance. By the time urine reaches the collecting ducts, it is a concentrated solution of wastes and excesses, the byproduct of a filtering process that is both precise and tireless. Water balance is one of the urinary system's greatest responsibilities. The body cannot allow fluids to fluctuate wildly, for every cell depends on the right hydration to function. If you drink more than needed, the kidneys release dilute urine, expelling the extra water. If you are dehydrated, they conserve water by producing a smaller volume of concentrated urine, sometimes nearly amber in color. This delicate adjustment is controlled by hormones such as antidiuretic hormone, or ADH, which signals the kidneys to reabsorb more water when the body needs to hold on to it. Through these constant micro-adjustments, the urinary system keeps blood volume, blood pressure, and hydration within narrow, life-sustaining ranges. Chemical balance is equally crucial. Sodium, potassium, calcium, chloride, and bicarbonate are among the electrolytes regulated by the kidneys. These ions control nerve impulses, muscle contractions, and pH levels, so their balance must be finely tuned. Too much potassium, for example, can disrupt the heartbeat. Too little sodium can cause confusion or seizures. The kidneys monitor blood composition constantly, adjusting reabsorption and excretion to maintain steady levels. They also play a role in acid-base balance, removing hydrogen ions and reabsorbing bicarbonate to keep blood pH close to 7.4. This chemical stability, though invisible, is the foundation of proper function in every organ system. The urinary system also contributes hormones of its own. The kidneys release erythropoietin, a signal that stimulates the bone marrow to produce red blood cells when oxygen levels are low. They secrete renin, an enzyme that triggers a cascade regulating blood pressure through the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. They help activate vitamin D, essential for calcium absorption and bone health. These roles show that the urinary system is not only a waste removal network, but also an endocrine organ, sending messages that guide the health of blood, bones, and vessels. Once urine is formed, it travels down narrow muscular tubes called ureters, which connect each kidney to the bladder. Though only a few millimeters wide, the ureters are lined with smooth muscle that contracts rhythmically to propel urine downward, a process called peristalsis. This steady movement ensures that urine flows only in one direction, from kidney to bladder, preventing backflow that could lead to infection. The journey may seem simple, but it is yet another layer of precision in a system where mistakes are rare. The bladder is the reservoir, a hollow muscular organ that stores urine until it is convenient to release it. Its walls are elastic, able to expand and contract with remarkable flexibility. A small volume can stretch to hold several hundred milliliters, adapting to daily patterns of fluid intake. Stretch receptors in the bladder lining send signals to the brain as it fills, creating the sensation of needing to urinate. Yet the act itself remains under voluntary control for much of life, coordinated by the brain, spinal cord, and muscles of the pelvic floor. This balance of involuntary reflex and conscious choice is what allows people to respond appropriately to both urgency and circumstance. At the end of the system lies the urethra, the passage through which urine leaves the body. In males, it also serves as part of the reproductive system, while in females, it is dedicated solely to urinary function. Surrounding muscles act as sphincters, closing tightly to retain urine and relaxing when it is time to void. The entire process of urination is a coordination of bladder muscle contraction, sphincter relaxation, and nervous system signaling. Though it may seem automatic, it is the result of a finely tuned collaboration between organs, nerves, and voluntary control. The urinary system is not only about excretion, but also about health protection. By flushing out waste products, it reduces the burden on other organs and prevents buildup of harmful compounds. By adjusting blood pressure, it protects delicate vessels in the brain, eyes, and kidneys themselves. By balancing electrolytes, it preserves the function of the heart and muscles. And by eliminating excess acid or base, it protects enzymes and proteins from dangerous shifts in chemistry. Each of these functions demonstrates how survival depends on a system that rarely draws attention to itself. Disorders of the urinary system reveal just how essential it is. Kidney stones, formed from crystallized minerals, can cause severe pain as they move through the ureters. Urinary tract infections, often starting in the bladder, can spread upward if untreated. Chronic kidney disease, often linked to high blood pressure or diabetes, gradually reduces filtering ability and can progress to kidney failure. When kidneys can no longer sustain balance, dialysis or transplantation becomes necessary. These conditions underscore that while the urinary system is resilient, it requires care and support through hydration, nutrition, and medical attention when needed. Hydration is one of the simplest yet most powerful ways to support urinary health. Water dilutes urine, reduces the risk of kidney stones, and helps flush bacteria from the bladder. A balanced diet, moderate in salt and rich in fruits and vegetables, supports electrolyte balance. Avoiding excessive alcohol and limiting processed foods reduce strain on the kidneys. Rest, exercise, and stress management also matter, for they influence blood pressure and circulation, which in turn affect kidney function. Caring for the urinary system is, in many ways, caring for the whole body. Even as you rest at night, the urinary system continues. The kidneys do not pause when you sleep. They keep filtering, balancing, and fine-tuning. Hormones adjust so that urine production slows, allowing longer periods of rest without interruption. Dreams may carry you far, but behind them, nephrons are at work, purifying blood, reclaiming water, and discarding what the body does not need. You wake refreshed not only because of sleep, but because the urinary system has quietly preserved balance through the night. The urinary system is a reminder of how much depends on processes we rarely notice. Every breath creates carbon dioxide that must be balanced with hydrogen ions. Every heartbeat delivers nutrients that must be filtered of waste. Every cell produces byproducts that, if left unchecked, would accumulate to dangerous levels. The urinary system manages all of this invisibly, giving the rest of the body freedom to focus on living. It is a background rhythm of health, an unspoken promise of stability. To reflect on the urinary system is to recognize the quiet wisdom of the body. It is not only a waste disposal network, but a guardian of balance, a regulator of pressure, a monitor of chemistry, and a partner in growth and repair. Without it, life would quickly falter. With it, life flows in steady currents, cleansed, balanced, and sustained. The kidneys, bladder, and their companions are the silent stewards of internal rivers, keeping the landscape of the body fertile and safe. They remind us that health is not only about strength and movement, but also about the still, patient work of cleansing and balance. In the stillness of night, when the mind drifts and the body rests, the urinary system continues its patient watch. It filters, regulates, and restores, ensuring that you wake to a new day in balance. It is the quiet river within, flowing without end, a guardian of health and a testament to the body's extraordinary design. The human senses are the body's remarkable windows to the world, opening pathways of experience, awareness, and connection. They are the silent translators of the environment, turning vibrations, molecules, light waves, and pressures into feelings, sights, sounds, and tastes that shape how we live each day. Without the senses, the world would be blank and silent, a place with no texture or flavor. With them, the universe unfolds in color and sound, in fragrance and taste, in warmth and pressure. The senses are not only about survival, but about meaning, memory, and joy. They make the human body not simply alive, but aware. The sense of sight is perhaps the most dominant for many people, though all senses are vital in their own ways. The eyes, with their curved corneas, crystalline lenses, and delicate retinas, collect light and translate it into patterns of vision. Photons, tiny particles of light, strike cells at the back of the eye. Some cells, called rods, are highly sensitive and allow us to perceive shapes even in dim light. Others, called cones, are tuned to different wavelengths, letting us distinguish red, green, and blue. Together, they allow the brain to build a world of color and form. This process happens with incredible speed, every blink bringing in new data, every saccade of the eye gathering fresh details. Even when you close your eyes, the afterimage of vision lingers, a reminder of the brain's ability to hold on to light. Sight is more than just images. It is the sense that helps us navigate safely, recognize faces, and read the subtle cues of expression. The eye connects directly to the brain through the optic nerve, forming not just a picture but an interpretation. The brain fills gaps, sharpens edges, and colors experiences with memory and expectation. This is why two people can look at the same scene and notice completely different details. Vision is not only about what is seen, but about how the mind frames it, shaping perception with both biology and thought. Sound enters the body as vibration, waves of compressed and rarefied air that travel into the ear. The outer ear funnels these waves inward, guiding them through the ear canal to the eardrum, a delicate membrane that vibrates in rhythm. Tiny bones in the middle ear, the malleus, incus, and stapes, often called the hammer, anvil, and stirrup, amplify those vibrations and pass them to the cochlea, a spiral-shaped structure filled with fluid. Inside the cochlea, microscopic hair cells bend in response to the movement of the fluid, translating vibration into electrical signals. These signals travel along the auditory nerve to the brain, where they are interpreted as sound. Hearing is not only about loudness and pitch, but about orientation and meaning. With two ears placed on either side of the head, humans can detect the direction of sound by comparing the tiny differences in timing and intensity. This ability helps us locate voices in a crowd, hear the rustle of leaves, or respond to music with rhythm. Sound is a carrier of communication, allowing speech, laughter, music, and story to pass between people. It is also a keeper of memory, for a single melody can bring back years of experience, and a familiar voice can soothe in ways words alone cannot. Taste is the sense that begins the story of nourishment. The tongue, covered in taste buds, contains receptor cells tuned to 5 main qualities: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. Each taste provides a clue about the chemistry of food. Sweetness often signals energy-rich sugars, sourness warns of acidity, saltiness reflects essential minerals, bitterness may caution against toxins, and umami points to protein-rich amino acids. Together, they guide the body toward what it needs while steering it away from potential harm. Yet taste is rarely experienced in isolation. Smell, texture, and even temperature weave together with it, creating the full flavor of food. Smell is among the oldest senses in evolutionary terms, and it is deeply tied to memory and emotion. The nose detects airborne molecules, each carrying information about the world. These molecules bind to receptors in the nasal cavity, triggering signals that pass directly to the olfactory bulb in the brain. Unlike other senses, smell bypasses the usual relay centers and connects straight to areas involved in emotion and memory. This is why a scent can bring back a childhood scene in an instant, or stir feelings long forgotten. Smell warns us of danger, such as smoke or spoiled food, but it also enriches life with subtlety: the fragrance of flowers, the comfort of a familiar perfume, the freshness of rain. Touch is the sense that grounds us most directly in the present moment. The skin, the largest organ of the body, is dotted with millions of receptors sensitive to pressure, vibration, temperature, and pain. Some respond to the lightest brush of air, others to the firm weight of contact. Through touch, we learn the texture of the world, the roughness of bark, the smoothness of glass, the softness of fabric. Touch is also the foundation of comfort and connection, from the warmth of holding a hand to the reassurance of a gentle pat. It is the sense that anchors us physically and emotionally, reminding us of presence and contact. Beyond the traditional five, there are other senses that enrich awareness. Balance, or the vestibular sense, arises from structures in the inner ear that detect head position and motion. Tiny crystals and fluid-filled canals shift as we move, sending signals to the brain about orientation. Without this system, walking, standing, or even sitting upright would be impossible. The vestibular sense works silently, yet its absence brings dizziness or disorientation, a reminder of how essential it is to stability. Pain is another sense, often misunderstood, but vital for survival. Nociceptors in the skin, muscles, and organs detect harmful stimuli, whether from heat, pressure, or chemicals. Though unpleasant, pain warns us to withdraw from injury, to rest and heal, and to protect the body from further harm. People born without pain, sensitivity, often face severe injuries without realizing it. Pain is not merely suffering, it is the body's urgent language of protection, a signal that keeps us safe. There are also internal senses, sometimes called interoception, that monitor the state of the body itself. Stretch receptors in the stomach tell us when we are full. Sensors in blood vessels track oxygen, carbon dioxide, and pressure. Nerve endings in tissues sense warmth, cold, or chemical changes. These signals may not always rise to conscious awareness, but they guide vital reflexes and influence emotions. The feeling of thirst, the comfort of being warm, the relief of breathing deeply, all are shaped by internal senses working quietly in the background. The senses do not function alone. They blend, overlap, and influence one another. Flavor is a partnership of taste and smell. Balance and sight work together to keep us steady. Music is not only heard, but felt as vibration in the bones. Even pain is shaped by context. A small cut might hurt more when attention is focused on it, but barely noticed when the mind is elsewhere. The brain weaves sensory information into a seamless whole, creating the world as it is experienced. The senses also adapt. Step into a dark room and, at first, everything seems hidden. But within minutes, rods in the eyes become more sensitive and shapes begin to emerge. Enter a bakery, and the smell may seem overwhelming, but after a while it fades as olfactory receptors adjust. Place your hand in cool water, and it feels cold, but soon the sensation normalizes. This adaptability allows humans to adjust to changing environments, though it can also mask gradual shifts like background noise or subtle changes in air quality. Cultural and personal meaning shape the senses as well. What smells pleasant to one person may seem strange to another, shaped by upbringing and memory. Music that soothes one culture may feel unfamiliar to another. Spicy food delights some while overwhelming others. The biology of sensing is universal, but the interpretation of sensation is personal, layered with culture, memory, and preference. The senses make us human, but they also make us unique. When senses falter, life changes in profound ways. Loss of sight requires new ways of navigating the world. Hearing loss alters communication and connection. Reduced smell or taste can dull the pleasure of food and even affect appetite. Yet humans are adaptable, and the brain often strengthens remaining senses to compensate. Technology, too, provides aids, glasses, hearing devices, cochlear implants, and tactile tools, extending the range of perception. These solutions remind us of both the fragility and resilience of sensory systems. The senses also influence health in subtle ways. Gentle touch lowers stress hormones and fosters bonding. Natural light helps regulate circadian rhythms, guiding sleep and wake cycles. Soundscapes, whether calming or harsh, affect mood and concentration. Smell and taste guide nutrition and safety. Pain prompts rest and healing. Balance protects from injury. Internal senses maintain stability. In every moment, the senses are not simply receiving information. They are shaping well-being. During sleep, sensory input quiets, but does not vanish. The brain dampens signals, allowing rest, yet remains alert to certain stimuli like a baby's cry or a loud alarm. Dreams, too, are infused with sensory echoes, sights, sounds, and feelings woven into imagined stories. Even in rest, the senses remind us that perception is never fully switched off, but gently tuned to a lower volume, guarding the body even in vulnerability. To reflect on the senses is to reflect on being alive. They are the bridges between body and world, shaping memory, guiding survival, and enriching experience. Every sunrise seen, every melody heard, every flavor tasted, every touch felt, and every fragrance breathed is a gift of sensory networks that work tirelessly, often unnoticed. They remind us that life is not only about survival, but about presence, the colors, textures, and sounds that make existence vivid. The senses are the body's poetry, written in light, vibration, molecules, and touch. They turn matter into meaning and energy into experience. Without them, the world would still exist, but it would not be lived. With them, life becomes more than biology. It becomes awareness, connection, and wonder. The senses are not only windows to the world, they are also mirrors of the self, reflecting how each person inhabits reality in their own unique way. The skin is more than a covering, more than the surface that meets the outside world. It is the largest organ of the human body, but it is also a messenger, a storyteller, and a mirror of what happens deep within. The skin is connected to the brain in ways that are both obvious and subtle, and together they form a dialogue between inner experience and outer appearance. Stress, healing, and sensation are not isolated phenomena, but woven together by a constant conversation that stretches across nerves, hormones, and cells. To understand the skin-brain link is to understand how emotion, thought, and biology ripple outward, shaping how we look, how we feel, and how we heal. Consider first the experience of goosebumps, a tiny forest of raised hairs across the skin. They appear when the body is cold, but also when the mind is stirred by emotion, a haunting song, a surge of fear, or even a sudden wave of awe. Tiny muscles at the base of hair follicles contract, an ancient reflex meant to puff up fur in animals for warmth or intimidation. In humans, the reflex persists as a trace of our evolutionary past, but its presence reminds us that the skin is responsive not just to temperature, but to emotional states carried through the nervous system. The brain feels, and the skin reacts. Blushing tells a different story, one not of cold, but of heat. A rush of blood to the skin's surface, often in the cheeks, signals embarrassment, attraction, or social attention. Unlike goosebumps, which are triggered by the autonomic nervous system's attempt to protect, blushing is more directly tied to emotional awareness. It is involuntary and deeply human, a physiological confession that words cannot hide. Blood vessels dilate under signals from the brain, and the skin reveals what the mind feels. Some people blush more easily than others, but the phenomenon shows that the brain and skin are partners in broadcasting emotion. Stress is perhaps the most profound thread in the skin-brain conversation. When the brain perceives stress, whether from physical danger or psychological strain, the body releases a cascade of hormones, including cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones prepare muscles, lungs, and heart for action, but they also reach the skin. Blood flow may be redirected, immune responses altered, and oil glands stimulated. For some, stress triggers flare-ups of acne, eczema, or psoriasis. For others, wounds heal more slowly during stressful periods, as the body diverts resources toward immediate survival rather than long-term repair. Stress, felt in the mind, leaves its marks on the skin, reminding us that emotional balance is a part of physical health. Healing itself is a process influenced by the brain. A simple cut on the skin sets off a symphony of responses. Clotting factors halt bleeding. Immune cells rush in to fight microbes. Fibroblasts lay down collagen, and new tissue grows to close the wound. Yet the speed and efficiency of this process depend partly on mental state. Studies have shown that chronic stress, depression, or anxiety can slow wound healing, while calm, supportive environments can enhance it. This is not mystical, but biological. Stress hormones suppress certain immune functions, while positive emotions encourage the release of growth factors. The brain does not only think, it shapes how the skin restores itself. The reverse is also true. The skin sends signals back to the brain. Nerve endings in the skin carry messages of touch, temperature, and pain. These signals are not only protective, but also emotional. A gentle caress can lower stress hormones and release oxytocin, the so-called bonding hormone. A painful injury alerts the brain to danger, but the experience of pain is shaped by attention, expectation, and memory. The skin informs the brain, and the brain interprets, turning raw sensation into personal experience. This feedback loop is what allows a touch to be soothing or alarming, depending on context. The color and texture of skin can also reflect inner states. Pale skin in times of fear is the result of blood being shunted away from the surface to prepare muscles and organs for action. Flushing during exercise is caused by increased circulation and heat release. Chronic stress may contribute to dullness or inflammation, while relaxation can restore vibrancy. The skin is a canvas painted by the inner life of the nervous system, displaying signals that others can read even without words. The connection between skin and brain begins early in life. Touch is one of the first senses to develop, and newborns rely on it for comfort, bonding, and survival. Skin-to-skin contact between infants and caregivers regulates temperature, heart rate, and stress hormones, while also building attachment. This primal communication sets the foundation for how the brain and skin will continue to cooperate throughout life. Touch nurtures growth, reduces pain, and strengthens immune responses, showing that the link between skin and brain is not only about reflexes, but about development and well-being. Psychosomatic conditions further illustrate the skin-brain dialogue. Psychodermatology, a field at the intersection of psychology and dermatology, studies how emotional states can manifest in skin disorders and how skin conditions can influence mental health. A person with visible acne may feel stress, which worsens the acne, creating a cycle of distress. Eczema flare-ups may be triggered by anxiety, while the visibility of the condition can heighten social discomfort. Breaking these cycles often requires addressing both the skin and the mind, for they are partners in a shared system. The language of the skin extends into cultural and social meaning. Expressions like skin deep, thick-skinned, or getting under one's skin capture how surface and psyche intertwine. We describe shivers of anticipation, the warmth of love, or the chill of fear in terms of skin sensations because they are inseparable from emotional life. The skin does not only cover the body, it reflects identity, emotion, and relationship. Through tone, texture, and reaction, it reveals what is felt within. The skin is also a stage for resilience. Scars, stretch marks, and wrinkles are records of time, healing, and experience. They tell stories of growth, injury, recovery, and adaptation. The brain, in turn, attaches meaning to these marks, sometimes with pride, sometimes with self-consciousness. This interplay shows how self-image is crafted through both biology and perception. The skin holds the imprint of life events, while the brain weaves them into narrative. Together, they create a sense of self that is lived both inside and out. Temperature regulation is another example of skin-brain cooperation. When body temperature rises, the brain signals sweat glands in the skin to release moisture, which cools through evaporation. When it falls, muscles near hair follicles contract to create goosebumps, conserving heat. Blood vessels widen or constrict under the brain's direction, adjusting heat exchange with the environment. These reflexes keep core temperature stable, but they are also experienced subjectively as comfort or discomfort. The skin responds to commands, but the brain interprets sensations, guiding behavior like seeking shade, sipping water, or bundling in blankets. The skin also participates in immune defense, forming the first barrier against pathogens. Specialized cells in the skin detect invaders and alert the immune system. Yet stress can alter this defense, making skin more vulnerable to infections or delayed healing. The brain's emotional state, communicated through hormones, changes how the skin carries out its protective duties. In this way, emotional resilience supports physical resilience, binding together mental and bodily well-being. Modern science continues to uncover new layers of the skin-brain link. Researchers study the gut-skin-brain axis, exploring how microbes in the digestive tract influence inflammation and skin conditions, mediated partly by the nervous system. Others investigate how mindfulness and relaxation techniques improve skin health by reducing stress signals from the brain. The findings confirm what many have long sensed, that the mind and body are not separate, but one continuous system of communication and care. In moments of quiet reflection, it is easy to see the skin-brain link as a metaphor for life itself. What is felt within often shows on the surface. Stress leaves its traces in furrowed brows or tension lines. Joy softens the face and brightens the complexion. Fear pales, love warms, awe tingles. The skin and brain together form a symphony of response, expressing emotion without the need for words. To care for one is to care for the other. To soothe the mind is to soothe the skin. To nurture the skin is to nurture the self. The skin-brain link is a reminder that health is not only about organs working in isolation, but about systems working together. The mind influences the skin influences the mind, and both are inseparable from the experience of being human. They tell the story of stress and recovery, fear and courage, connection and individuality. They are the outward and inward expressions of the same life force, woven into a dialogue that never stops. As you rest tonight, your skin continues to breathe, regulate, and sense, while your brain interprets and responds. Stress may rise and fall, but healing continues beneath the surface. Goosebumps may prickle at a dream, a blush may linger from memory, and sensations will travel along nerves to keep the dialogue alive. The skin and brain are partners, mirrors, and storytellers, carrying the marks of the day into the quiet of the night, preparing you to wake renewed in both body and mind. The story of the human body is not fixed in youth, but written across decades, with every cell, organ, and system adjusting to time. Aging is not a single moment when the body changes, but a gradual unfolding, a lifelong dialogue between biology and environment, resilience and wear. To reflect on the aging body is to reflect on the rhythm of life itself, a rhythm that carries us through childhood, maturity, and into later years with patterns of decline and renewal, limitation and adaptation, vulnerability and wisdom. The body is not a machine that simply breaks down, but a living system that adjusts, compensates, and evolves as the years pass. At the heart of aging are the cells themselves. Every cell in the body carries DNA, and every time a cell divides, it must copy this genetic instruction. The copying process is remarkably precise, yet it is not perfect. Small errors can accumulate, and protective caps on chromosomes called telomeres shorten with each division. Over time, cells lose some of their replicative potential, reaching a state called senescence, where they no longer divide but remain metabolically active. Senescent cells are part of the fabric of aging, releasing signals that can influence nearby tissues, sometimes promoting repair, but sometimes contributing to inflammation. This slow accumulation is one of the reasons aging unfolds gradually at the cellular level, a record of both time and resilience. Mitochondria, the energy-producing structures inside cells, also play a role. They convert nutrients into ATP, the body's usable energy currency, but in doing so they release reactive oxygen species, molecules that can damage DNA, proteins, and lipids. Although cells possess antioxidant defenses, over decades the balance tips and oxidative stress builds. This contributes to gradual declines in energy production and increased cellular wear. Yet the story is not only about damage. Exercise, for example, stimulates the production of fresh mitochondria, showing that lifestyle choices can influence how cells respond to time. Aging is not simply decline. It is the result of a constant interplay between stress and repair. On a visible level, the skin reflects many of these changes. Collagen and elastin fibers, once plentiful, diminish and lose their spring, leading to wrinkles and sagging. Melanocytes, the cells that produce pigment, decline in number and change in distribution, causing age spots or uneven tone. The skin thins, and wound healing may take longer, yet even here, the body adapts. Blood vessels shift to support thermoregulation differently, sweat glands alter activity, and sensory nerves in the skin continue to provide touch and feedback, even if sensitivity changes with age. The skin does not only age, it carries the story of a lifetime spent under sun, weather, and human connection. Bones and joints tell another chapter of the aging story. Bone is living tissue, constantly remodeled by cells that build and cells that break down. In youth, building outweighs breaking down, and bones grow stronger. With age, the balance can shift, leading to gradual thinning known as osteoporosis. Joints, cushioned by cartilage and lubricated by synovial fluid, may wear with decades of motion, leading to stiffness or arthritis. Yet the body often compensates by strengthening muscles around the joints or adapting movement patterns. Gentle exercise and nutrition can help maintain bone density, and cartilage may not regenerate easily, but the brain and body work together to adapt posture, gait, and balance. Longevity is not only about preventing change, but about living with it wisely. The muscles that power motion also transform. In early life, muscle mass is abundant, but after midlife, it gradually decreases in a process called sarcopenia. Fibers shrink, strength declines, and endurance may change. Yet muscle remains highly adaptable. Regular activity stimulates growth, while protein intake supports repair. The cardiovascular and nervous systems also adjust, ensuring that coordination and endurance can persist even as power wanes. Many older adults retain remarkable strength and agility, proof that the aging body is not locked into frailty, but shaped by use, rest, and care. The brain is central to the aging story, both in function and perception. Neurons do not divide like skin or muscle cells, but they do experience wear. Synapses, the connections between neurons, can weaken with disuse or strengthen with activity. Memory may slow, reaction time lengthen, and multitasking become more difficult. Yet other qualities deepen. Pattern recognition, vocabulary, and emotional regulation often improve with age. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire and adapt, continues throughout life. This resilience explains why learning, creativity, and even new skills remain possible in later years. The aging mind may be slower in some respects, but it is richer in others, carrying decades of experience that translate into wisdom. Sleep, dreams, and circadian rhythms also shift with age. Older adults may sleep less deeply, rising earlier or waking more often at night. Hormonal changes, such as reductions in melatonin production, contribute to these patterns. The body adapts by adjusting activity cycles, and rest may come in shorter but more frequent intervals. While the architecture of sleep changes, the brain continues to rely on dreams, memory consolidation, and rest for healing. Just as in youth, sleep remains a vital pillar of health, though it is experienced differently with the passage of years. The cardiovascular system is another arena where adaptation plays out. The heart, beating tirelessly from birth, may become slightly less efficient with age. Arteries can stiffen, blood pressure may rise, and the risk of atherosclerosis increases. Yet the heart remains responsive to exercise, diet, and stress management. Aerobic activity, even in later life, improves circulation, strengthens heart muscle, and enhances endurance. The aging heart shows that resilience is not only about maintaining the old, but about embracing new habits that support longevity. The lungs, too, undergo gradual shifts. Elasticity decreases, alveoli may enlarge, and overall lung capacity can decline. Yet breathing exercises, physical activity, and mindful attention to posture can support respiratory function. The act of deep, steady breathing calms the nervous system and maintains oxygen exchange, demonstrating how conscious practices can support the aging body's natural adaptations. The immune system changes as well, in a process sometimes called immunosenescence. The production of new immune cells slows, responses to infections may weaken, and vaccines can be less effective. Yet, memory cells, those trained by decades of exposure, remain vigilant, offering protection against familiar threats. At the same time, low-grade inflammation may increase, contributing to age-related conditions. Still, nutrition, sleep, exercise, and stress reduction all help balance immune function. The body may face new vulnerabilities, but it retains remarkable capacity for healing and defense. Hormones shift steadily with age. In women, menopause marks the end of reproductive years, with declines in estrogen and progesterone influencing bone density, cardiovascular health, and skin. In men, gradual reductions in testosterone, sometimes called andropause, can affect muscle mass, energy, and mood. Thyroid function may change, influencing metabolism. Yet the endocrine system remains a network of adaptation, fine-tuning energy, stress responses, and growth throughout the lifespan. These shifts remind us that the body is always in dialogue with time, recalibrating as years accumulate. Digestion and metabolism also evolve. The stomach may produce less acid, slowing nutrient absorption, while intestinal motility changes. The microbiome, the diverse community of bacteria in the gut, shifts with diet and age, influencing digestion, immunity, and even mood. Metabolism tends to slow, affecting weight balance and energy. Yet the digestive system remains responsive to care, hydration, fiber, balanced nutrition, and mindful eating all support vitality. The body may process differently, but it continues to adapt, sustaining energy for living and learning. One of the most fascinating aspects of aging is resilience. Despite cellular decline, the body constantly seeks equilibrium. New blood vessels form after injury, bone repairs itself, and muscles respond to training even late in life. The skin heals, though more slowly. The brain forges new connections when old ones weaken. This resilience is the hidden strength of the aging body, a reminder that adaptation is not an exception, but the rule of life. Longevity, the extension of lifespan, is shaped by both biology and choice. Genetics set certain boundaries, influencing risks and protections. Yet lifestyle factors, nutrition, physical activity, stress management, sleep, and social connection play enormous roles. Cultures with longer average lifespans often emphasize plant-rich diets, community bonds, purposeful living, and regular movement. These findings show that aging is not only about time, but about how time is lived. Longevity is less about avoiding change and more about adapting gracefully to it. Psychological adaptation is as crucial as biological change. The way people think about aging influences how they experience it. Positive outlooks, resilience in the face of loss, and openness to growth foster well-being. Negative stereotypes or fears about aging can worsen health outcomes, while acceptance and curiosity promote vitality. The brain, in constant dialogue with the body, shapes not only emotional health, but physical responses to stress and healing. Wisdom, gratitude, and perspective are not abstract traits, but biological allies in aging. Pain, limitation, and illness are often part of later life, yet they coexist with joy, meaning, and adaptation. Chronic conditions may emerge, but the body adjusts, and so does the mind. Assistive devices, therapies, and medical advances support function, while creativity and determination sustain purpose. Many older adults discover new passions, deepen relationships, or contribute to communities in ways they could not have imagined in youth. Aging, therefore, is not only a biological process, but a human journey of resilience and adaptation. The story of aging is also written on the face. Lines etched by years of expression reflect laughter, sorrow, surprise, and contemplation. Each wrinkle is a record of emotions lived fully, a map of time that tells others the story of connection. Grey hair, thinning strands, or changes in texture remind us that cells follow their own cycles. Yet these marks are not only signs of decline, they are also emblems of experience. The brain interprets them with meaning, sometimes vanity, sometimes pride, always as part of identity. Science continues to explore the mechanisms of aging, from telomere shortening to stem cell exhaustion to the accumulation of damage in proteins and DNA. New therapies aim to slow, repair, or even reverse aspects of cellular decline. Yet even as research seeks breakthroughs, the wisdom of aging remains. The body adapts and the mind grows. Life expectancy has increased dramatically in the past century, not only because of medicine, but because of clean water, nutrition, vaccination, and lifestyle. The story of the aging body is also the story of human progress, a testament to resilience on both biological and cultural scales. To reflect on aging is to reflect on continuity. The body changes, cells divide and falter, organs shift, energy waxes and wanes. Yet through it all, the human spirit adapts. Wisdom deepens, resilience strengthens, and adaptation becomes the hallmark of survival. The aging body is not merely declining, but continuing, weaving memory, biology, and identity into the ongoing story of life. As you rest tonight, your body is aging gently, as it has every day since birth. Cells are repairing, energy is renewing, memories are consolidating. Wrinkles, aches, and changes are part of the journey, but so are resilience, creativity, and strength. The body ages, but it also adapts, and with each adaptation comes the possibility of wisdom. To honor the aging body is to honor life itself, a continuum of growth, change, and meaning that does not end, but transforms. The silent rhythm of aging is not a drumbeat of decline, but a song of resilience, a melody of survival that plays as long as the heart beats and the mind remembers. When we speak of the future of the body, we are not only imagining years yet to come, but recognizing how science, medicine, and human ingenuity are already reshaping what it means to be alive. The body is not frozen in its biology. It is adaptable, resilient, and increasingly guided by technologies that once belonged only to dreams. Advances in organ repair, genetic therapy, regenerative medicine, prosthetics, and digital health tools all point to a horizon where life is extended, quality of health is improved, and the limits of what a human can endure are quietly shifted further outward. Yet the future of the body is also mysterious, because for every answer we unlock about DNA, cells, or brain function, new questions arise that remind us of how much more there is to discover. To begin with, consider how medicine now views organs. For centuries, if the heart, lungs, or kidneys failed, the body faced severe limitation or death. Transplants emerged as one of the great breakthroughs of the 20th century, giving people second chances with donor hearts, livers, or kidneys. Today, advances in tissue engineering aim to reduce dependence on donors altogether. Scientists can grow organ-like structures called organoids from stem cells, miniature versions of kidneys, brains, or intestines that mimic many of the functions of full organs. Though still in development, these organoids promise testing grounds for drugs and eventually the potential for lab-grown replacements. 3D bioprinting, using living cells as ink, is another pathway being refined. Printing skin grafts, cartilage patches, and perhaps one day entire organs could reduce wait lists and allow patients to receive personalized tissues derived from their own DNA, reducing the risk of rejection. This is not science fiction, but work unfolding in laboratories across the world, where printers hum with the building blocks of biology itself. The genetic era has brought a parallel revolution. DNA, once only a mysterious spiral of coded instructions, is now a script scientists can read, interpret, and sometimes edit. Technologies like CRISPR-Cas9 have made gene editing precise and relatively affordable. In the future, such tools may repair mutations that cause inherited disorders, silence genes that raise risk for cancer, or even boost resistance to infections. Already, experimental therapies are being tested to treat conditions once considered incurable. Sickle cell disease, cystic fibrosis, and muscular dystrophy are among the many candidates for genetic intervention. Beyond direct cures, personalized medicine is rising, using a person's genetic profile to tailor treatments, predict drug responses, or guide lifestyle choices. Imagine a world where prescriptions, nutrition plans, or exercise programs are designed with precision for your genome rather than generalized averages. Prosthetics are another frontier of hope. Once basic and mechanical, prosthetic arms and legs are increasingly sophisticated, designed not only for utility, but for integration with the nervous system. Bionic limbs now exist that can be controlled by thought, using electrodes implanted in muscles or nerves to pick up signals from the brain. Some prosthetics even send sensory feedback back to the user, restoring a sense of touch. For someone who has lost a hand, this means not only being able to grasp, but to feel again. The boundaries between biology and machine grow thinner as these technologies advance, suggesting futures where assistive devices become true extensions of the self. Exoskeletons, wearable robotic suits, already help people with spinal injuries walk again, offering glimpses of how mobility can be restored through engineering. At the same time, technology is reshaping how we monitor and support everyday health. Wearables like smartwatches already track heart rhythms, blood oxygen, and sleep cycles, alerting people to irregularities that once would have gone unnoticed. In the near future, sensors may continuously analyze blood glucose, hydration, or even stress hormone levels, streaming data to physicians in real time. Telemedicine, accelerated by necessity during global pandemics, continues to expand, turning smartphones into gateways for medical care. Remote surgeries, where robotic arms are guided by surgeons hundreds of miles away, are no longer theoretical but real. The merging of digital health with human biology creates a vision where healthcare is less reactive and more predictive, identifying problems before they become crises. Regenerative medicine is another cornerstone of hope. Stem cells, with their ability to develop into different types of tissues, may repair hearts damaged by heart attacks, rebuild cartilage in arthritic joints, or even restore neurons lost in Parkinson's disease. Experiments have already shown promise in regenerating spinal cord tissue to help paralyzed patients regain function. The idea of replacing not only what is broken, but coaxing the body into healing itself is one of the most profound shifts in medical philosophy. It reframes health from a battle against decline to a partnership with biology's inherent potential for renewal. The brain, long one of science's deepest mysteries, is also central to the future of the body. Brain-computer interfaces are being developed that allow direct communication between neurons and machines. These interfaces may help people with paralysis control devices communicate or even regain lost abilities. But they also raise questions about the boundaries of self, identity, and consciousness. If the brain can interface with computers, what does this mean for memory, creativity, or emotion? Already, deep brain stimulation is being used to treat conditions like Parkinson's tremors or severe depression. Future refinements may expand its use, offering relief for epilepsy, chronic pain, or psychiatric disorders. These possibilities blend biology with technology, expanding not only lifespan, but lived experience. Longevity science has also captured imagination. Researchers study molecules like resveratrol, rapamycin, or NAD boosters that may slow cellular aging, enhance mitochondrial function, or extend healthy years of life. Caloric restriction mimetics, drugs that mimic the effects of low-calorie diets, are being tested for their potential to increase lifespan without severe dietary changes. Senolytics, drugs that selectively remove senescent cells, are being explored to reduce age-related inflammation and restore tissue function. Though much remains experimental, these approaches show that aging itself may one day be treated not only as a fact of life, but as a modifiable condition. The immune system may also see a transformation. Vaccines already protect against once devastating diseases, but the future may bring personalized cancer vaccines, engineered to target the exact mutations in an individual's tumor. Immunotherapies that train the body to recognize and destroy cancer cells have already saved lives, and as these therapies grow more precise, the line between cure and chronic management may blur. The possibility of teaching the immune system to respond more effectively to threats could redefine what it means to be resilient. Even senses, once lost, may be restored. Cochlear implants already bring sound to people with profound hearing loss. Retinal implants and gene therapies are showing promise in restoring aspects of vision. In time, artificial senses may emerge, extending human perception beyond natural limits, allowing detection of infrared light or ultrasonic sound. The future of the body might not only preserve what evolution has given, but expand it in ways once thought impossible. Of course, alongside these advances come ethical questions. Who will have access to gene therapies, organ printing, or bionic enhancements? How do we balance extending life with ensuring quality of life? What does it mean for society if some people can afford decades of added health while others cannot? The future of the body is not only a scientific frontier, but a moral one, demanding conversations about fairness, dignity, and identity. The hope of technology must always be paired with respect for humanity. And yet, even with all these possibilities, mystery remains. We still do not fully understand consciousness, the deep processes that give rise to thought and self-awareness. We do not fully know how emotions emerge from neurons, or why some people remain sharp into their 90s while others face decline earlier. The body still holds secrets in its DNA, proteins, and cellular networks. Every answer in biology seems to lead to further questions, reminding us that the body is not a puzzle with a single solution, but a living system that reveals itself slowly, like chapters in an endless book. The hope in looking ahead is not only in radical technologies, but also in simple truths. The body thrives on balance, care, connection, and respect. While organ printing or genetic editing may reshape medicine, the fundamentals of nutrition, exercise, sleep, and emotional well-being remain central. Technology may extend what we can do, but the daily rhythms of kindness to the body, breathing deeply, nourishing well, moving often, will always be part of its future. Imagine resting tonight and knowing that within you lies not only the resilience of biology, but the promise of future science. Cells repairing, DNA whispering instructions, blood flowing, neurons sparking. Around the world, researchers are shaping tools that may one day extend your health, heal injuries once thought permanent, and even expand the senses through which you experience life. The body of the future is not a distant dream, but a gradual unfolding, a partnership between biology and technology, science and hope. To respect the body today is also to believe in its possibilities tomorrow. The story of the future of the body is one of optimism. It is about living longer, yes, but also living better, walking with strength, remembering with clarity, breathing deeply, feeling connected. It is about the heart that continues to beat, perhaps supported by regenerative therapies, the brain that continues to imagine, perhaps aided by neural interfaces, the skin that heals with new materials, the limbs that move with grace, powered by biology or technology. It is a future where human potential expands, not only in length of years, but in depth of experience. So, as you drift into rest, hold this thought. The body is not static but evolving, guided by care, knowledge, and imagination. The future of the body belongs to science, but it also belongs to you, to your choices, your resilience, and your hope. Medicine and technology will continue to advance, but the mystery of human potential will always remain a frontier worth exploring. The future of the body is a story not yet finished, a chapter still being written with every discovery, every act of healing, every heartbeat that carries us forward.